All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. We got PCE inflation data going live in about an hour and 12 minutes. Silver is elevated over $80 a share. The NASDAQ is basically flat. If we take a look at large caps, NVIDIA is red. Microsoft is red. Meta is red. Alphabet is green. Netflix is flat. AMD is red. A lot of stuff has kind of turned over the last few minutes here. But again, we got a potential tariff decision today regarding the president's tariffs from the Supreme Court. Potentially 175 billion tariff refunds are at stake. The U.S. Supreme Court could rule as early as today on Trump's emergency tariffs. More than 175 billion in U.S. tariff revenue could be refunded if the U.S. Supreme Court rules against the emergency tariffs, according to Penn Wharton budget model. The estimate is based on detailing modeling of tariffs by products and countries. If the tariffs are struck down, importers may seek refunds from Customs and Border Protection for duties paid since early 2025 in, April. The potential refunds would exceed the combined annual budget of the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Department of Justice. While the tariffs are projected to generate about $300 billion annually over the next decade, a ruling could then reverse a large share. So, again, let me know if you guys think we're going to get the decision today. We'll be here live streaming at 10. But before that, we have PCE inflation data. PCE is the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index. It is the Fed, and it is their preferred inflation metric. And so it's what they use to gauge inflation, specifically core PCE is what they look at. And core PCE today is expected at 0.3% and 2.9% on the year. We also have GDP releasing for quarter four. They recently revised the updates. It was previously 2.5 for today. Now it's 2.8 is what I'm seeing. 2.9 in some places. So again, we'll see what GDP looks like. Again, it's expected at 2.5 really to 2.9% is what I'm showing here. What's up, Roland? They won't rule it in today. They're going to drag it out forever. Hey, good morning from Sweden. Hey, what's up, man? John, what's your thoughts on RKLB? I'll have to take a look. What's up, Nick, Robert, Ava, Sam, Vin, Brian, Cash, Matt, Pawn, E, Womble, Keegan, Camille, Gaston, Ava, Arif, Matthew, Cato. What's up, guys? Good morning. Yeah, you know, I wrote that the markets were green today. I'm going to put markets are flat. Because markets are really kind of flat today. Again, look at AMD dump down here. Look at NVIDIA. Again, silver, gold a little bit elevated today. Gold over 5K. Silver at 80 an ounce. So they're a little up. Again, what we're still digesting here is yesterday's news regarding Iran. So, again, yesterday we had news that pushed Brent all the way up to $72 WTI. If I take a look at oil today, oil's down a little bit on the day, but it's still elevated from yesterday. But yeah, basically rumors and rumblings of war with Iran are causing, you know, war premiums in oil. Again, we're going to see if the recent sticky services but overall cooling inflation narrative holds today. An inline print keeps the mid-year cut hope alive. A hot surprise would reinforce hawkishness by the Fed and maybe less cuts this year. You know, we did get some hawkish tones from the FOMC minutes report. I think it was neutral to hawkish. I don't think it was a dovish report. They stressed inflation risks a lot in the report. So the Fed minutes report on Wednesday did show some fear in that context. And again, so we're supposed to have an Iran nuclear plan due in a few days amid these tensions. So Abbas Arachi says Iran will finalize a draft nuclear proposal within 2 to 3 days pending approval before sending it to the U.S. following talks in Geneva. He noted Washington did not demand zero uranium enrichment and Iran did not offer it. He stressed the goal remains a peaceful nuclear program. Tensions persist, though. And again, another question is, should the Supreme Court reverse the tariffs? It's a little bit too divisive for me, I think. But yeah, I saw the president going to release some documents on aliens. I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. And again, PCE inflation data today, guys. Big report, big day. Let's see what we get. But big day, big report. And yeah, PCE inflation drops in a little bit over an hour. Not that long yet. Not that long left here. And then again, so the schedule today for big events today is PCE inflation 830, expected at 2.9% on the year for core, 0.3% on the year for headline. Regular PCE is expected at 2.8% or 0.3%. I'm showing. We have manufacturing PMI and services PMI at 945. At 10 a.m., we got the Michigan consumer sentiment inflation data. Not the biggest data, but also at 10 a.m. is when we get the potential tariff decision by the Supreme Court, so which we will be streaming. And so that is what happens today. A lot of stuff going on today, tariff decisions and more potentially dropping here. So yeah, let's see what we get. Again, stocks are kind of flat. Nvidia and OpenAI are abandoning a $100 billion unfinished deal in favor of a $30 billion investment. So Nvidia is close to finalizing $30 billion investment in OpenAI that will replace the longer-term $100 billion commitment agreed by the companies last year as part of a massive new funding round for the AI startup. The world's most valuable company is in the final stages of negotiations with OpenAI, and its investment could be concluded as early as this weekend, according to people familiar with the matter. Now, I think they're probably doing this in response to the negative reactions we've seen from all that CapEx spending worries. You know, they're basically saying, hey, we're not going to spend that much. You know, we're going to bring it back to 30 billion. And I think that's probably why they're announcing this, is just because they've got some fear, overvaluation concerns, overspending, circular financing concerns. So I think they're kind of trying to bring it back a little bit, maybe. Again, Citigroup's plan to survive AI shocks is to bet on bonds and small cap stocks. They say the time is now for investors to get their AI survival plan in place with bets on bonds and small caps among the smartest moves. Citigroup said, quote, "We think U.S. rates will work as a hedge against a bursting AI bubble or against an AI-driven labor market dislocation," end quote, said a Citi team member led by Dirk Willer, global head of macro strategy and asset allocation. AMC announced another $150 million at the market equity offering, a $2.5 billion refinancing package. So AMC struggling here, selling shares. Didn't really move though, I'm showing. But yeah, again, the only stock I'm really showing in Mag 7 that's green is Google. Everything else is either flat or red from my end. If you guys see anything else green here in Mag 7, let me know. But I see Apple, red. Microsoft, red. Meta, red. What am I forgetting? Nvidia, red. Netflix, red. Amazon, red. Flat, basically. Yeah. And again, here's the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ currently sitting down at 24.8. 24.8. Morning, Chef. Will we even get a tariff decision? We don't know. They don't tell you which cases are in each batch before they release them. And so they do not tell you which cases are in each batch. They do not say, hey, the Supreme Court tariff decision is going to be today in this batch at 10 a.m. They don't say that. They just say, hey, we're going to release opinions today. And if it's in the batch, it's in the batch. And so basically, we're going to have to sit around at 10 a.m. and see if they drop it. And hopefully they do. But I don't know. I'm not the most confident, to be honest. I've covered 3 or 4 of these opinion days where they could be in the batch. And every single time, it's like, nope, not today. Nope, not today. Nope, not today. It's happened over and over again. And so again, I'm not the most confident. Eventually, they have to release one. But we'll see if it's today. We'll see if it's today. Again, we'll be here at 10 a.m. Be here. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. I'll be here. But I'm not confident they're going to actually release it today. And honestly, I'm a big proponent of changing the procedure here. Like, tell you which ones are in each batch so we can prepare for that. This will probably move markets and be kind of chaotic if they do release it. And so, because of that, tell us if it's going to get released. Don't just leave people standing there in trades, in positions, oblivious to the fact that it might, oblivious to whether it comes out today or not. Maybe not oblivious, but unaware of whether it comes out today or not. I think that's dumb. That's terrible procedure. Like, just tell them which case is in each batch. It doesn't make any sense not to. Is the gain super high on the mic? Is it really? Do I sound different? Hold on, let me hear myself here. Hold on one second. I mean, the mic doesn't really sound that bad to me. Does the mic sound bad, guys? Let me know in chat. Is the mic worse today? I think I might have changed the setting here, but I don't know. Is the mic worse today? Let me know. What's your take on the tariff decision? My take on the tariff decision, I'm not yelling here. My take on the tariff decision is this. I think it could go two different ways. I think originally when the tariffs were announced, everything corrected. We had some crashes really in April. A lot of things dropped big percentages. 20, 25% in some areas. And so with that, a reversal of the tariffs following that same logic could cause the opposite effect. At the same time, we're kind of over the volatility of the tariffs. Like, the tariff impact has already been digested by the market. And so reversing those tariffs, and then they're going to find ways to implement similar tariffs regardless after this. If they do get reversed, that could restart the volatility cycle as well. And so I think you can get two potential outcomes here. And I think both of them you could probably argue reasonably, but I'm not sure which one we're going to get. And again, let me know which one you think we're going to get. If they do reverse the tariffs, which is the majority likelihood at this point, it's most likely that they're going to reverse the tariffs. If we look at odds makers here, let me see if I can find it. Tariffs. There's only a 24% chance on Polymarket that the Supreme Court rules in favor of the president's tariffs. Only a 24% likelihood of that, which gives it, 76% likelihood that they're going to reverse them. So sounds good to me. All right, cool. I think lesser uncertainty with the tariff decision, the better for markets, i.e. if it's deemed illegal and all proceeds are to be returned, we are going down. I think that's possible as well. You think reversing the tariffs will remove the risk premium of gold and silver? I think it might have an effect on it. I don't know if it's going to completely reverse it. You think we're going to get a crash from this? Let's do a poll here. Are you in favor of the Supreme Court reversing the emergency tariffs? You think you're smart until you have to spell tariff. I couldn't remember if it has two R's or two F's. It has two F's, apparently. Again, vote in the poll. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, y'all can't hear the music. My bad here. Over here. Yeah, there's 2 points in life you think you're smart and you realize you're not. You think you're smart when you got to spell the word tariff. You think you're smart when you use somebody else's shower, and then you realize you're not. And you think you're smart before you use somebody else's shower. and then you realize you're not. I was at a hotel in Austin. I was using their shower. I burnt myself, dude. That thing was wild, you know. I'm sure. Are we really this much split down the middle here? Like, I'll do some polls and they're like 60-40 or 70-30. You know, you really do get a wisdom of the crowd effect in some areas. But every time it's anything like politically related, it's almost completely 50-50 split. Right now it's 51-49. No, don't reverse the tariffs out of 80 votes. How low you think we'll go, John? I have no idea. It depends on what happens. Depends on what PCE inflation is. I think the market wants low inflation regardless. I think both sides want low inflation. Both sides might not necessarily believe low inflation. Like, and when I say both sides here, I mean hawks versus doves. And so, yeah, I think both sides kind of want low inflation. And so if we get high inflation print, it's not going to be necessarily good, I think, and we might get negative reactions. GDP data is a little bit easier to gauge. You know, stronger GDP is generally considered good as well. So I think markets want low PCE and high GDP, although I think the market could also want low GDP to, you know, show weakening economics. But well, we'll probably do a little bit of all of it, David. I don't want to pay more through tariffs. I understand that, but you also have to understand, listen, if they reverse these tariffs, they're going to implement tariffs in other ways, similar tariffs in other ways. The only thing that this reversal would do is set a precedent for future decisions, or for future presidential powers, you know. And so that's what the big thing here, to be completely honest, that's what this is, more so than, you know, you can like the tariffs, not like the tariffs. I'm pretty sure they're going to figure out ways to implement them anyway. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying they're going to figure out ways to implement them anyway. Similar tariffs, you know. So with that, we're probably going to get them regardless. For me, it's about whether we should restart the volatility cycle of tariffs. We've seen a very volatile 8-9 months here since April. And, you know, again, we cover all this stuff. We cover all the news here. So I've seen all this firsthand, like watched it happen. And that makes me a little nervous. But at the same time, you know, we could also get positive reactions here. It just depends. Yeah, we have manufacturing and services PMI as well. That's correct. Yes, we do. Tariffs is good. Yeah, let's take a look at Bitcoin today here. Bitcoin, again, it's elevated from where it was yesterday, so it pushed all the way up with everything else here. So like Bitcoin pushed up again, but then kind of fell back down, honestly. Like look, so Bitcoin back up to 67.3s. But again, at about 5:45 Eastern time this morning, a lot of stuff kind of turned back down. I'm trying to figure out what it is that turned, but a lot of stuff turned back down. So we did get a post regarding Iran's foreign minister. They said they do not consider Americans as their enemy, but consider the government's policies as hostile against Iran. When the hostilities stop, then they can perhaps consider a different kind of relationship. End quote. The Iran foreign minister. So we did get that. Walmart was downgraded at HSBC as well. Well, Airbus CEO says the relations with the SALT are not broken, but they are finding it difficult to progress to phase 2 of the FCAS fighter project. Also, diplomats are saying that the president's deadline for Iran may be shorter than 10 to 15 days, according to Al Hadath reporting, citing CBS. We also had news that the commander of the Iranian Navy said the effective and responsible presence of the naval forces ensures the stability and pathways of energy and vital trade. via news. All right, so looking at this, 54% say no, we should not reverse the emergency tariffs. Tariff news 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, potentially. Can you look at oil? Yeah, we looked at oil a little bit earlier here. Here's oil on the left side. Oil is slightly down on the day, but it did hit $67 a barrel. So it's lower on the day slightly, but it also had a pretty strong day yesterday, and we're still really elevated from yesterday's oil premium that we're getting from the tensions in the Middle East. So oil is still very elevated from all this stuff. Hey, would it be possible to add a small clock to the streets? To these YouTube streets over here? No, I'm just joking. But look, there is a clock. It might be in green letters on the bottom left of the screen, sir. You know, this might be it right here. I'm not saying it is. Counting down to PCE inflation. There it is. If you're talking about the Supreme Court decision, that is at 10 a.m. today. Yeah, we've got a little bit longer for that. So we got about an hour and 21 minutes until that drops. Yeah. Bull on cuteness, guys. Bull on cuteness after yesterday. The president did not like the cuteness he was getting. Yeah, you're good, Carpet. I'm just messing with you, brother. Anytime somebody asks for something that I already have, I have to shame them slightly. It's all love here, though. I'm just messing with you. But yeah, I gotta slightly shame you for it, just a little bit, Orange. Again, PCE inflation data live 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Honestly, I was shocked at how much the market moved on jobless claims data and trade balance data yesterday. NASDAQ moved a little bit on that data. So we'll see what we get today. And again, I'm seeing news that 4 minutes ago that the U.S. is sending their largest warship towards Iran. The USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, has entered the Mediterranean. And again, we're watching oil today. $66 a barrel here today. What's up, Freddie? What's gonna happen? I don't know. Honestly, we shouldn't care about government deficit or debt because economic and demographic trends be paid off. It can if we don't keep adding to it, which is we're gonna keep adding to it if trends continue. And the NASDAQ's still dipping down here. Honestly, I'm looking at like 24,800s right now. It's a short-term support level. I don't know if it's going to hold. 775 down here, 24,775 has acted as a historical support and resistance level for me at least. I'm going to look at 700s as well though. But again, we are getting some breakdowns in the NASDAQ here. You can kind of see the NASDAQ fall. And we do have PCE inflation data dropping. 8:30. GDP as well. GDP is expected at 2.5 to 2.9%. That's what I'm showing. And tariff decision could affect things big. Okay. Here we got about 18 minutes until the top of the hour at 8 a.m. Yeah, we had a Keurig for a while, But we started making it the old school way. Not the really old school way, just the normal coffee mug or cup thing. All right, NASDAQ still testing 24,800s here. And again, I think this is a short-term support level. Options expiry today. Hey, what's up, JC? Did PC come out at 0.36%? I mean, yeah. Yeah, here's the last PCE inflation report. You want to take a look at it? Again, so here's the trends from last time. Spending, financial services, and more increased to 98.6 billion. So, again, for the preceding month, PC index increased 0.2 in October and November, excluding food and energy. The PC price index also increased 0.2% in both months. So this is core, and again, core is the more relevant ones here. So core is the more relevant ones for sure. We'll see if it holds, but yeah, core's the big one. Again, PC is pretty big, so is GDP. See what happens. Again, it drops at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time today. And we might have choppiness. We also get a potential tariff decision by the president, by the Supreme Court, I mean. So, we'll see if that moves things. Yeah, we'll see what happens here. DJ John, is the music too loud? Let me know. I can turn it down. GDP probably up. PCE down. Supreme Court's not going to release anything. Yeah, again, they don't tell you. That's right, 7. You know, they don't tell you which one is in the batch. So they don't tell you if the tariff decision's in the batch. Terrible procedure. I don't know why they would do it like that, but they do. At least tell us if we're going to get it today. You know, give us some warning. Don't just release it one day after not releasing it 5 or 6 times in a row, and then randomly release it one morning and freak markets out. Either way. Gonna get gold, silver up a little bit today. Here's silver. Silver's over $80. Bounced directly off of it. I still like these whole dollar numbers on silver. I think they make sense to pay attention to. $80 here, big whole dollar number. I was also watching 25,000 on the NASDAQ here. 25K on the NASDAQ is up here. But I was watching it when we were closer to it. We're a little bit too farther away from that now, but yeah. GDP PC 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. There might be a timer in the bottom left. It's fine. It's too low. 80s. That's how the Supreme Court works. They don't announce what decisions will be released. Just that they're releasing decisions. I understand. That's how they work. I mean, we've covered 3 or 4 times now where we could potentially get a tariff decision. And again, we have some sources where we can see which ones are coming out as soon as they happen, but yeah, it's still bad procedure. Especially with a big decision like this. And again, we don't even know if we're getting it today. We don't know if we're getting it. I think the days are today, Tuesday next week, and then I think it's Thursday next week are the potential days we could get more. So, again, we will see, guys. We will see. Yeah, maybe mid-March. They think 10-15 days could be the deadline. And again, oil's still elevated, although it's down to 66 today. It just depends on what news we get on that front, to be honest here. Michael Saylor says Bitcoin's not going to 0, it's going to 1 million. Yeah, we did get news earlier that the U.S. is sending their largest warship towards Iran, the USS Gerald Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, to enter the Mediterranean. Waste possible action. And again, look, each president, just to explain this, right? A lot of presidents will say, hey, you know, we're going to be peaceful, you know, and all that stuff. A lot of the time presidents, and this is not just one side, this is on both sides. A lot of times they will say that, but then there's a standard for presidency in which, in their mind, they need to have some type of conflict to have a memorable presidency to be remembered. Essentially, they have to have some conflict here. I'm not saying that's what this is, but just to put some context on why presidents might say they're going to do something and then do something else. This might be one of the reasons why. Again, I'm not saying it's not justified or whatever. I'm not saying it is. I'm kind of neutral on it, but presidents will be presidents, I think. Point. It's both sides, to be honest. If you look at the history of it, it's both sides. I'm not going to cite examples. They're pretty easy to figure out. But all right, guys. PCE inflation data. Again, higher or lower inflation today. We did a poll. Should they reverse the tariffs? 52% say no. 47% say yes. What level do you see silver holding? Really don't know. Silver's too volatile to tell. Short term, I'm looking at $80. Like if we're talking about really short term on silver, I'm looking at 80. I think 75 maybe. I think this low down here could be interesting. 60 down there psychologically could be interesting. I'd love to see it hold over 80 though, but again, it depends on what happens with economic reports. It depends on honestly what happens with the tariff decision. I don't know if we're gonna get it today. And in fact, I'll even say I don't think we are gonna get it today. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna go arguing about politics. It's all love. Like, I'm very neutral. I'm a moderate. Both sides dislike me, guys. So listen, I'm not your enemy, either side, whatever side you're on. It's all love here, you know. Again, NASDAQ kind of slowing down ahead of PCE inflation here. NASDAQ in a very tight range. You know, that's the range that we're currently seeing in the NQ. Slowing down ahead of it. Again, we have 40 minutes left until PCE inflation, GDP data. This is the biggest report of the week by far, though. And honestly, next week is a little quiet, I would say. Next week, we do have PPI inflation on Friday. Jobless claims on Thursday. Some Fed members speaking Tuesday, Wednesday. But that's basically it. We do have NVIDIA earnings next Wednesday. So NVIDIA earnings are going to be the main event next week for sure. And then followed by PPI inflation. The week after next, I have to look to see what happens. But oh my gosh, somebody. I don't know why they threw this up. It's supposed to be instrumentals. I don't know what happens here. Watching 752. No, I mean, I can play it. It's all royalty free. I just don't think having people, I don't think having vocals on the tracks are going to, you know, me talking and then also having vocals on the tracks. It's, you know. All right, so the president just spoke. He said, quote, "The dim shutdown cost the USA at least 2 points in GDP. That's why they are doing it in mini form again. No shutdowns. Also lower interest rates. Too late. Powell is the worst. President DJT," end quote. I will say I disagree with him here in this specific shutdown. I don't know why they did the first one, and it was, you know, who's the root cause of the first one. I'm sure y'all will argue about it. I'm not gonna go into that. This one's just DHS. I don't think this one's negatively impacting GDP at all. You know, maybe slightly from like the fears of a shutdown in general, but I don't think this one's going to be super impactful over GDP. NASDAQ at 24.8s. 24.8s. What's up, Snoop? Yo, man. All right, guys. Y'all are getting too argumentative. Listen. I want people on the left and people on the right to... I want both of you guys to say something nice about the other one. You know? Y'all both sit in the corner on each side and say something nice about the other side. All right? I'm gonna have to go dad mode on you guys here. Y'all chill out. It's all love here, you know? We're talking about markets today, guys. We're talking about markets. NASDAQ up to 24.8s. 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 See what happens. All right, guys. Here's something about markets. What's your favorite stock to buy right now? What's your favorite stock to buy? We need a penalty box here. Oh, I got one. I got one. I don't want to use it, but I'll put you in timeout if I need to. Yeah. Nvidia, Amazon, Google, AMC. Didn't AMC dilute this morning? Didn't AMC sell shares and dilute? Honestly, if it did and it didn't move at all like this, AMC's done. I think AMC's done. How many shares are in the float of AMC now after this dilution? Let's ask. 511 million shares. About 514 outstanding shares. Floats 511. Short interest 124 million. About 24.4% short float. I'm in PayPal. I ended up selling HIMS. PayPal's been moving up slightly though. I'm optimistic. Open door. Supreme Court reversing the tariffs would be catastrophic. Any blue chips? PayPal, HIMS, Microsoft. Microsoft, I think, is red on the day as well. Again, I'm trying to figure out what turned the market here. If you guys have any idea, let me know. I've been searching. I can't really see anything. Again, potential Supreme Court tariff decision today. We'll see if that impacts things. PCE inflation and GDP data in about 35 minutes. Chat. Maybe I'll just get along. Yeah, again, the problem with AMC is simple. GameStop made people think that AMC was some big squeeze stock. The problem is the float and the outstanding shares. Like, there's too many shares out there to make it highly squeezable in any big significant way, and there has been. Like, GameStop had 30 million. AMC right now has 500 plus million shares outstanding or in the float. And the difference between float and outstanding is outstanding is all the shares, including executive owned shares. The float is just total amount of tradable shares out there. Either way, they're over 10x the amount that GameStop had when it made its big squeeze here. So it's just not the same thing, but people treated it like it was, piled into it, and then it just kept going down. Movie theater industry as a whole is changing over the last 5-10 years. And I think that's obvious. So I think that's just what we see going on. And again, I recently tweeted the AMC CEO. And again, I'll tell the story one more time for anybody that might have missed it. Where is it? I went to go see a movie with my daughter here. And I order a pizza. I assume my daughter and I could share like a whole pizza at AMC. And they end up giving me like a Smurf-sized pizza. Like a child, like a baby's pizza, you know? Like a pizza that I look like I have monster hands holding this pizza. No, my hands are not 2 feet long. The pizza's a baby pizza. And the box was huge. So I get to my seat, I'm like, okay, cool, I got this nice big pizza. It turned out to be a child baby pizza. So shout out to AMC. Saving money on pizzas. Yeah, I tweeted Adam Aaron. I was like, hey, bro, listen. This pizza's not cutting it here. Come on now. Yeah. And I had to share that pizza. You know, I had to share it. Look at Silver. Move it up here. Silver, move it up some, guys. All right, so let's talk about it. Again, we have US PCE and GDP due at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. PCE prices, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, is expected to be 0.3% for December. Previously, 0.2%. The annual rate is expected at 2.8%. Core is, again, excluding food and energy. A lot of people consider core the main one. And when you hear Jerome Powell and the Fed reference inflation through PCE, they're usually referencing core inflation. Again, core inflation is expected to rise 0.3% as well. Annual 2.8, 2.9%. Last time was 2.8%. It's going to be critical for policymakers in assessing the future path of rates, to be honest here. And so we should see yields move from this PCE inflation report in 30 minutes. We should see yields move. We should see all this stuff move. Where rates might be heading, you know, the Fed watch tool might move. We should see yields go up. If we have higher inflation, yields will go up. If we have lower inflation, we might see yields go down. And so again, kind of the opposite with GDP though. And again, this is after last week's CPI inflation on Friday showed up noticeably lower than expected, guys. Noticeably lower than expected last week. Here's the SPY. SPY at 684s. Right now, 684s. I'm not a pizza hater. Dude, I love pizza. Sometimes I watch the one bite pizza reviews while eating a pizza of my own and then rate it in my head and be like, you know what, this is a 7.9. You know, not a rookie score. You know what I mean? I love pizza. I can't eat it as much in my old age, but I love pizza. Yes, I am, Farmer. You know, sometimes what I did in Austin is I'll tell my daughter to rate something, or I tell my wife to rate something, and my wife will be like, this is an 8. And I'll tell her, I'll be like, that's a rookie score. You know, that's a rookie score. If you know, you know. All right, guys, we got 30 minutes left. 30 minutes left. SPY is down. NASDAQ is down on the day. Tensions with Iran are still here. And again, Paramount Skydance says no statutory impediment to Paramount's acquisition of Warner Bros. In the U.S. Again, December building permits were revised to 4.8% from 4.3% annual rate to 1.455 million units from 1.448. So revised up a little bit in terms of building permits. Again, December building permits were at 4.3%. They recently revised them up to 4.8%. Pineapple? I'm not a big pineapple believer. I don't believe in pineapple on pizza, you know? All right, so Iran's foreign minister says what we are now talking about is how to make sure that Iran's nuclear program, including enrichment, is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever, according to the Wall Street Journal. Again, so we're also seeing news regarding Paramount Skydance that on February 19th, HSR waiting period expired for Paramount's offer to purchase Warner Bros. So let's see what this is looking like here. Not really seeing much movement. Here's Warner Bros. Up a little bit. Again, Netflix just went green on the day. It's at $77 a share here. $77 for Netflix. Of course, again, and at 10 a.m. today, we have PCE and GDP at 8:30. At 10 a.m. today, we potentially, and again, I'm going to say potentially because they don't tell you which cases are in each opinion day batch, but we could potentially get a Supreme Court tariff decision. Again, I'm not saying we will. Let's see if we do, but potentially a Supreme Court tariff decision, again, at 10 a.m. today. So we got a lot of stuff that might potentially move markets today. Again, Alphabet is green on the day. It's the only Mag 7 stock that I can see that's actually green on the day here. Yeah, so you can see Google right here. Again, most of the other tech stocks are red or flat. NASDAQ's flat on the day. Here's the previous closing price at 24,830s. Again, last time at the at his press conference following the FOMC's January meeting, Chair Powell did say estimates based on CPI data indicate headline PCE rose 2.9% year over year in December, up from 2.8%. Core PCE, excluding food and energy, likely rose 3% year over year from 2.8, he said. He said this is from elevated goods inflation boosted by tariffs, is what he blamed it on. The Fed's December projections did say they thought one additional cut for 2026. Though policymakers have recently indicated this depends on further progress towards inflation. And so that's why today's data is relevant, is because we're going to get some inflation data today. Given the labor market has outperformed expectations, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the labor market has been kind of weak. We did have higher than expected payrolls Wednesday last week. Though Wednesday payrolls expected at 65,000. They ended up showing 130,000. So we did have stronger there, but a lot of the other data shows weakness in labor, to be honest. So I think we're somewhere in the middle with labor. Powell did say in the last meeting, inflation has evolved broadly as expected, but remains somewhat elevated with no progress on core PCE last year as the overshoot driven mainly by goods prices, tariffs, and one-off factors. Goods and tariffs related inflation is expected to peak around mid-year with many effects already passed through. He said that if tariffs, and this is Powell talking, he said that if tariffs effects on goods prices peak this year, it would signal scope to loosen policy. So basically, if we get less inflation, maybe we'll have a little bit looser monetary policy and more cuts. Longer term measures indicate confidence that inflation will get to 2%. Again, we also have prelim quarter four. Now, the way they drop GDP data, GDP data is it's quarterly. And so every 3 months is a quarter. And so the way they do this is today's the first quarter four reading. It's called what's called the initial estimate on GDP. The initial estimate is the most variance heavy one, but also potentially the most influential one because it's the first estimate, basically, of GDP for quarter 4. Second one, we get another revision, and then we get more close to the finalized number in the third one. But today's is the initial estimates. Again, it is the most variance heavy one that could also have some of the most influence on things at 8:30. And so that's what it is today. And again, we'll see what we get today, guys. We got over 1,000 people here already. Hit the subscribe button. We got 23 minutes left. About 22 minutes until this data comes out. Are y'all still on pizza in the chat? Man, y'all are really on pizza in the chat. Again, Alphabet is green because of fundamentals and flows. A lot of people think it looks better than other Mag 7 stocks. Defensive AI mega cap. Alphabet's outperformed a lot of the Mag 7 on strong earnings. Bullish analyst targets and dip buyers are more willing to step in on Alphabet than some of the other names. So Google's kind of acting like a safety net versus the other Mag 7 is up. Price target raises for Alphabet is what's driving this. Again, Broadbridge analysts upgraded the consensus to a buy following 170 million CQG tech acquisition. We did have news about New York State rescinding provisions for robotaxi expansion, though. The Waymo might be... I saw some Waymos in Austin. I was in Austin. They look like DeLoreans. They have like the little thing spinning on the top. They're cool. We didn't actually ride in one. We tried to go to Franklin's Barbecue. And I love barbecue. But I'm not getting in line at 8 a.m. and waiting for 3 hours for barbecue. I'm not waiting in line for 3 hours for any food. So shout out to Franklin's, but... PCE comes in cooler. John buys pizza for the chat. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of stuff happening here, chat. Plenty of low-paying jobs. All right, guys. Pizza guys. All right. All right. All right, pizza guys. Speaking of pizza, we have PCE inflation data today. 8:30. High or low inflation? We asked people about the poll. We said, are you in favor of reversing the tariffs? We're going to do another poll today. Well, today's PCE inflation go higher or lower than the 2 point. What is expected today for core? PCE inflation today expected for core at 0.3% on the month. 0.3%. We're going to do a poll. Well, today's PCE inflation show higher or lower than the 0.3% core expectation. Again, give me your predictions here. Higher or lower data. I'm going to put the poll up now. We got the poll going live. Higher or lower inflation data. I could eat a PCE of pizza right now. I get it. All right, guys. 18 minutes here, chat. 18 minutes. Again, so far, most people are expecting lower than expected inflation. I think if we look at the trends from CPI, it's potentially something to watch for maybe low. Again, it's if we expect things to be consistent. HSR waiting period expired for Paramount Skydance offer to purchase Warner Bros. Discovery on the 19th of February. So that was yesterday. Create trust the numbers coming out. Yeah, I mean, numbers haven't been the most accurate. Again, headline PCE for the last few months. August of 2025 showed up at 2.7%. September showed up at 2.8%. October 2.7, November 2.8. So we've had 2.7, 2.8, 2.7, 2.8. For PCE in October showed 2.7. November showed 2.8. December it's expected at 2.9 to 3%. So core is actually trending up the last few months. So core has been running around 0.2%. Today's print expected to run about 0.2% as well in the month. But on the year, we've seen some increases here. The big picture, I think, is inflation is off the highs, but stalling above 2%. Headline PCE has been stuck around 2.7 to 2.8% for the last 4 readings. And so, yeah. Again, core PC getting close to 3%. What did it show last time for core? Core showed 2.8%. This was for December. But again, today it's expected at 0.3. Yeah, so basically here's a graph of PCE inflation data. So again, here's a graph of PCE inflation data. Again, headline PCE is basically up, down, up, like this, or has been going up a little bit. You can kind of see. So again, now this is all on the year. Monthly data might be a little bit different here, but this is all on the year. Here's the SPY. We can also put gold, silver up here. Here's gold. Gold again over $5,000 an ounce. We're in a DHS shutdown, but again, 52% of people think we're going to have lower inflation expectations today. If PCE comes up lower, market goes up, and if PCE comes in higher, goes down, right? Generally, yes, it could vary from those outcomes, but generally, yes. So generally, lower inflation is better, right? So generally, lower inflation is going to cause positive reactions in markets. Higher inflation is going to cause worse reactions in markets. Again, this is generally, we don't know for sure how markets are going to respond. And sometimes markets can also just go the other way and do opposite things. Again, it's not really a given here necessarily. So generally, yes. But all right, guys, we have 14 minutes left. 14 minutes. Again, the NASDAQ trying to go green on the day, but it's been stagnant ahead of this data here. It might be waiting for this data. Again, we got a lot of stuff that could potentially move markets today. Again, the president came out earlier saying the government shutdown cost the U.S. at least 2 points in GDP. He has to be talking about the previous one. This one I don't think is going to make any big impact because it's DHS. So again, market's a little choppy. Gold still elevated at $5,000 an ounce. Silver is as well. NASDAQ just tried to go green on the day for a split second. Here's silver. I'm watching this $80 level for silver. We bounced directly off of that earlier this morning, so I'm watching that on silver. Again, the NASDAQ just went green. This light blue line is the previous closing price. So the NASDAQ did just go green and then got pushed back down, but it's trying to make a run back up here, and we'll see if it holds. Again, PCE data and maybe a tariff decision going live later. So, do you guys actually think we're going to get it today? I don't necessarily think so, but Cup and handle the 5-minute. Took profit there. Thank you all who long NASDAQ. Bad news, ETH goes down. Good news, ETH goes down. No news. I think lower inflation might make Bitcoin and ETH go up, but you never know for sure. Again, you never know. Like, I think Bitcoin, what's easy? Low inflation means higher likelihood of easing in the future. Again, if we take a look at yields this morning, I don't know if I've looked at this yet, but if we take a look at yields are a little bit down on the day, to be honest here. So yields are a little down on the day relative to where they were. And again, regarding the tariffs, Polymarket has only a 24% chance they keep the tariffs. Only about 24% likely they keep the tariffs. NASDAQ did just go green. We're pushing up a little bit right now. Again, we got about 12 or 13 minutes left. Maybe a wild Friday. The vote's 51.49%. So it's just split down the middle on PCE inflation. What are you guys interested in buying today? Again, here's NASDAQ and silver prices. We will be day trading this live as well if we get some good action here. But Bitcoin's looking bad. Someone stated that if we find out who started Bitcoin, it will go to zero. I don't know. I don't know if that's why. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get the tariff decision today or not. Again, I really don't know. Again, we have 11 minutes here, chat. 11 minutes. Buy gold. I'm waiting on the NASDAQ. Any move is likely muted today with real moves next week. Silver. Pizza. Again, Apple has apparently been questioned by a GOP senator on its news app. Alleged bias, according to Fox. And I'm just reading news that comes out. Again, we do have PCE and GDP data 8:30 today, guys. NASDAQ did just go green on the day. Look at this push up here. So the NASDAQ did go green on the day in anticipation of this. Again, yields are down a little bit relative to where they were yesterday. And we also had the EU's trade chief, Stagflation, saying the EU's China trade imbalance is not sustainable long term. Again, if we take a look at odds for rates here. Again, PCE might widely influence this. Again, we have odds for rates. PCE might widely influence this. I'm showing odds are only 5.9% likely we cut rates next month. If we get lower inflation data today, it could move these odds. But as of now, I'm only showing a 6% roughly chance that we cut rates next month in March. 6% likely. Again, here's the 200 exponential in the NASDAQ. We just rejected right at the 200 EMA. That's the 200 exponential right there. We just rejected directly off of it. And again, we have about 9 minutes left for PCE inflation. Friday, probably gonna have a big move and then chop all day. Rates are up, neutral. Rates are at neutral. Next move may be up. You know, people see me get CPI right and they want me to make a prediction on PCE data. I'm not that good at guessing other ones outside of CPI. I think PCE data, I don't know. I'm going to just go with the trend. I think PCE data is going to confirm less of a need to cut rates and come in at 0.2%. I'm just going to follow the trend. 0.2% on the month is what I'm guessing here. Maybe as expected. Again, just a straight up guess, not 100% sure. Just a straight up guess. Again, we have 8 minutes left, chat. 8 minutes. Even if inflation comes in lower, doesn't beat on labor currently offset that anyway. Kind of, yes. Oil. Yeah, I mean, oil, look at the NASDAQ reject right at the 200 EMA. It's coming back down to the previous closing price. Oil is down some on the day, but still elevated from yesterday. Again, the Iran worries about tensions there causing an oil premium from scarcity worries. And again, the logic is the more tensions overseas in the Middle East, the less access to oil, i.e. the more expensive it might potentially get in the higher price per barrel that you see on the chart here. And so again, you can see oil yesterday on the Iran news went all the way up to currently 66 a barrel, hit 67s up there. Kind of scared saying that number, but it did hit that level up there. NASDAQ just went red on the day ahead of PCE and GDP data. But again, we just rejected at the 200 exponential. We are now down to 24,850s here. You trade gold? Sometimes. Catching the shorts. I feel like the NASDAQ is ready to go. Primed and ready. Let's go. I'm trying to see what Apple's doing. We did get some Apple news, but Apple's not really moving. I think these are mostly just swings from broad markets. Amazon ended up pushing up some, and is that green? Yeah, Amazon now technically green on the day. Alphabet is as well. I am in Amazon, which is nice. Green on the day in stocks as well. Again, Michael Saylor says if it's not going to zero, it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. All right, chat, we have 6 minutes. 6 minutes. I don't think there's any turning back at this point. Hope you have a good plan. Yeah, NASDAQ went green for a second. Now it's back to, you know, flat, essentially. Rejected at the 200 EMA. Another confirmation in that indicator. I love the indicator. On a 1 minute chart, it works a lot of the time. Again, are you bull or bear on this PCE inflation report? 51% of people think we're going to get higher inflation. 49% of people think we're going to get lower inflation. Are you bullish or bearish? What's up, Kieran? Hey, doing good, man. We have 5.5 minutes left. You can hit the live button next to the play button, put it in 2x speed. We'll see what today's inflation print shows. See what today's GDP print shows. Again, GDP is expected at 2.5 to 2.9%. I believe, right? I think that's right. Yeah. 2.5 to 2.9% GDP quarter 4. Initial estimate, which again is the most variance heavy. NASDAQ still coming back down here. I'm gonna put maybe the dollar index up on this to see what it does. I could also put maybe gold or silver up. Maybe the S&P. But the Dixie is at 97.80s. And it's been heading back up after February 10th or so on the dollar index. NASDAQ again falling some short term though. Again, lower inflation data should make the Dixie go up, but it depends. Will be mixed numbers. Maybe. World's largest holder of tulips says tulips are going to 1 million. I see what you did there. All right, guys, 4 minutes left here. 4 minutes. See what we get. All right, guys. Again, make sure you hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Again, inflation data is expected to potentially move where rates are going. All right, and like that's the big thing today. Potentially moving where rates are going. Again, here is an inflation graph right now. On the year, we've seen some increases, especially in core. It's almost at 3% today. If it comes in as expected, it'll be 2.9%, I believe. But we are seeing some rises in core. We did see lower than expected CPI inflation last week, though. So we did have lower than expected CPI last week, which obviously is good. Now, whether we're going to continue to see those trends in inflation is a different story. And time will tell here, guys. Time will tell. Again, Bitcoin on the day here, just to take a look at it, sitting at 67,000. 67,000. A little elevated from yesterday, but now pulling back over the last couple minutes here. Been pulling back since about 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 this morning, with a lot of other stuff. Stocks have kind of pulled back in the same trend if you look at it. If I zoom out on the NASDAQ, kind of seen a similar trend here. Morning, you know, here's 5:30 market time. Look, guys, I started my stream. Figure it out. Started my stream right around here, so hey. Maybe I didn't cause it this time. We have 2.5 minutes left, chat. .9%. What's your last minute predictions on this? Again, 51% think higher inflation. 49% think lower. So here we go. Yeah, so again, core today, guys, expected at 0.3%. Headline expected at 2.9%. Or I'm sorry, headline expected at 2.8% on the year and 0.3% on the month. Both core and headline PCE expected at 0.3%. Again, PCE inflation. Again, previously headline PCE showed up, or previously core showed up at 0.2%. And here we go. We have less than a minute and a half left. Less than a minute and a half left. Again, core PCE year over year is expected at 2.9% today. Previously, again, it was 2.8%. And that's kind of gone back and forth, but has showed a little bit more of an upward trend. Again, month over month expected at 0.3% previously. Look at the dollar index fall here, guys. Dollar index down to 97.80s here. 97.80s. Again, look at the dollar index fall and the NASDAQ bounce here. We are seeing some movement. Here we go. Here we go, guys. We have less than a minute. We have about 40 seconds left here. 40 seconds left. All right, here we go. If prices actually do fall. NASDAQ up to 24,860s here. About 15 seconds here, guys. 15 seconds. And we will also read this report when it comes out. And here's the report very soon. And here's the report right now. PCE inflation. In 3, 2, 1. And here it is right here. It was come out, still waiting for it. Okay, GDP showed up at 1.4%. 1.4% is what I'm showing for GDP. PCE showed up higher than expected at 0.4% for core on the month, 3% on the year for core on the month. Headline PCE showed up at 0.4% and 2.9%. Both of them, all of them higher than expected here. No revisions that I'm showing. All of them higher than expected. I'm showing quarter four GDP at 1.4%. 1.4%. Weaker than expected here. Again, PCE on the month showed up at 0.4%. 0.4% here. That's higher than expected. On the year, it showed up at 3%. Again, 3% on the year. PCE month over month was headline PCE month over month. Again, 0.4 versus 0.3%. Again, all of this is bad. All of this is bad. It shows weak labor and higher inflation. Again, 3% on the year for everything. Again, quarter four. Is this right for quarter four GDP? 1.4%? Is this right for GDP? 1.4%? I got to check somewhere else just to make sure. Again, 1.4% GDP, that's terrible. Not good at all. Bad. 1.4%. Yeah, that's right. Wow. Again, dollar index is up. NASDAQ is down. Shockingly high. Let's take a look at this actual report, though, here, guys. Yikes, dude. Yikes. This is not good at all. Again, let's take a look at the actual report. Here's the report. NASDAQ coming down. Dollar index is going up. Yikes, dude. 1.4% GDP higher than expected inflation data here, guys. 1.4% GDP higher than expected inflation. Look at the NASDAQ tumble here. I'll put this up on screen just so you guys can see this. But again, higher than expected PCE prices here. Eesh. Man. Not good. Low GDP, high PCE inflation. And And again, we're gonna summarize this. But man, Nasdaq falling. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq here. The Nasdaq falling down. Dollar index is spiking up. GDP 1.4%, expected 2.5 to 3%. Yikes, dude. Again, personal consumption and personal income increase 86.2 billion. Sum of PCE personal interest and personal current 90 plus billion. PCE increased 11.5 billion, 0.1% in a monthly rate in December from the preceding month. The PCE index increased 0.4%, excluding food and energy, also increased 0.4%. 3%. Man, yikes. Again, everything looked bad in this report, to be honest here. Man. Chat, how are you guys feeling on this report here? I see the chat moving. Nasdaq is down. Is it buy the dip time? Almost all stocks have reversed here. A lot of stocks have reversed. Again, personal income rose 86.2 billion in December, up 0.3% month over month. Disposable personal income increased 7.5 billion. Nominal PCE 91 billion, a 0.4%, driven by a 98.5 billion jump in services spending, offset by a 7.5 billion drop in goods. In real terms, PCE was up 11.5 billion, a modest 0.1% month over month gain, while real DPI was flat. PC price index rose 0.4% and 2.9%. Core PCE also rose 0.4% and 3%. Ugh, bad data here, guys. Bad data. Again, we got the potential tariff decision coming out today. This could be a wild Friday, too, to be honest. Again, this could be a wild day today. I love you. Have a good day. Send your brother in here. He hadn't come in here like the last days. All right, love you. Yeah, guys, bad GDP data here. Wasn't good. Again, dollar index pushing up. Hey, look at the Dixie. Income growth was led by higher transfer receipts, including a wildfire settlement, more Medicare benefits, higher compensation. Hey, bro. I love you, dude. Have a good day, bud. Good day, man. But yeah, not good inflation. Higher inflation, weaker GDP. The question is this a stagflation report? Is the real question. Stagflation is an economic situation in which we have high inflation and weak jobs. Again, high inflation and weak jobs. Again, will the Nasdaq rebound here? Stagflation? That's terrible. Gold? Gold probably... I don't know, man. Gold's hard to tell. The problem is it's the worst of both, right? So the problem is it's the worst of both. Yeah. The problem is it's not good on either front. Again, core PCE did show up at 3%. Headline PCE did show up at 2.9%, which was higher than expected. Again, it's just the worst of both. Worst of both. Again, where's Bitcoin at in the wake of this? Bitcoin is down. I don't know. I would assume Bitcoin wants easing. Slightly higher. I think the bad one is GDP as well. GDP at 1.4% seems rough. Could be from the shutdown. This is quarter 4 GDP, which was, the shutdown period. So it could be from the shutdown. That's what I'm assuming this drop in GDP is. But yeah, high PCE, 0.4% on the month for core, versus 0.3% expected, previous of 0.2%. So it uptick 0.2%. GDP growth rate, again, 1.4% quarter over quarter. They expected 3%, 2.5% is what I was showing. So again, not good here, not good. Yeah, so again, looking at this here, guys, so the changes in consumer spending was this. All right, housing and utilities increased 29.4. Recreation and services. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Recreation services increased 20.1%. So inflation came in higher mainly because of services and tariff-linked prices being hot. Goods disinflation also faded a little bit. The Bureau of Economic Analysis did note that tariffs have been pushing up core prices in recent months, while services, especially shelter and medical related components, continue to put steady upward pressure on the index. So shelter and medical putting upward pressure. Tariffs pushing up core good prices in recent months is what the Bureau of Economic Analysis said. But yeah, and we do have a little bit of an uptick in inflation here. So again, I think yields are obviously from this report. If we take a look at 10-year treasury yields, just to see, like, again, interest rate sentiment here, they might be kind of flat just because of the weak GDP and the high inflation print. So again, here's 10-year treasuries. Again, treasuries spiked originally from this report, probably from the higher inflation print, but then dropped right back down. So they are kind of flat from this report. Again, weak GDP makes it really difficult to say the only focus is inflation, you know. But again, I think some of this weak GDP is going to be from the shutdown. This is quarter 4 GDP, which was the shutdown month. So again, we're going to put it in sub-only mode, guys. If you haven't already, check it out. Also, guys, you want to help support the channel, check out Take Profit Trader. Take Profit Trader, 40% off evaluations, no activation fees. If you want to learn to day trade, again, do not fund thousands of dollars into your own account. Again, I'm here out of the kindness of my heart, guys. I just like helping people. But check out my sponsor here, guys. Check out my sponsor. Again, 40% off evals. Use promo code BG. A great way to help support the channel. Again, use promo code BG. You can use this link right here. And again, learn to trade this way. If you fund your own account thousands of dollars, you're probably going to lose money, like most day traders do. It makes no sense to do that. Instead, they give you a demo. They test your skill with it. If you pass the test, they fund you between 25K up to over 100K. If you fail, you lose a very small amount that you pay for the challenge. It makes perfect sense to learn that way in a structured environment with some risk, but not the full amount of risk of risking thousands of dollars trying to fund your own account. I lost thousands of dollars when I first got started day trading. It makes no sense to do so. Again, they are a sponsor. I am biased, guys. But if you want to check them out, here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. There's the link right there in chat. I'll pin it to the top of the page. Just remember promo code. Let me remove this one and put the promo code into it. Remember promo code BG here, guys. BG. Again, we also have PMI data coming out today, and not only that, but we have a tariff decision potentially at 10 a.m. Bitcoin is falling down here. Again, the NASDAQ is falling down too, though. Again, this data was not good here. This data was not good. If you look at it, look at the NASDAQ and gold. Gold's kind of unchanged from it, but the NASDAQ continues to drop on this report. So again, we're seeing the NASDAQ continue to fall down. But yeah, bad GDP, guys, bad GDP. Yeah, I saw somebody mention on my X page that growth slowed, but inflation did not. That's like going to the gym and eating cake. As somebody that loves cake, that's absolutely true right now. It's the worst of both. Again, a lot of people are going to call this a stagflation report. Weak GDP and higher inflation is not usually a good mix, guys. High inflation and weak economy, not a good mix here. Who remembers BG from Cash Money? I do. I was making jokes about that all yesterday. I'm from Louisiana. You know. Honestly, it's not the worst pullback ever, but it is a drop. I mean, I think considering the report, though, you could argue this is a muted response. But it's definitely a pullback. It's probably more volatility than we saw even from jobless claims yesterday. Nasdaq dropping, Bitcoin taking an absolute wallop. Yeah, Flash Services PMI coming up at 945. Yes, sir. Yeah, guys, when you enter a code on Take Profit, I want you to just remember this face right here. Or you can check out Apex, same code. BG, same code. Remember this face, this beautiful face. Or Rosie's face right there, whichever one you want to remember. Yeah, I mean, the shutdown obviously affecting it some. PCE inflation, I mean, look, GDP is getting affected by the shutdown, probably. Again, 1.4% is not good, especially when we're expecting in a lot of areas, and when quarter 3 showed up much stronger than that. Remember, like, quarter 3 GDP was 4.4%. For quarter 3 GDP, 4.4% last month when we got it. So quarter 4 GDP was very strong, very strong. And so the pivot from quarter 3 to quarter 4, it has to be due to the shutdown, because from going from 4.4% GDP all the way back down to 1.4%, I mean, at least some of it's from the shutdown. Regardless of which side you're on, I mean, it just makes logical sense that we'd have that big of a pullback, especially in quarter 4, in a situation in which, you know, the holiday season is usually a higher time for buying and purchasing and spending, right? For it to pull back that much quarter to quarter has to be from, at least partially from the shutdown, right? I mean, this is just obvious, I think. Regardless of which side you're on, you know, it should be obvious. Stagflation numbers, bro. Yeah, I mean, I agree. High inflation, higher inflation, weak GDP. Lucid. What is causing this dump? So what is causing this dump is that we expected lower inflation data today and we got higher inflation data. We expected high GDP and we got low GDP. So the GDP data weak. The PCE inflation data showed heating inflation. So both of them were bad, you know. Both of them were bad. PCE was higher than expected month over month for core and headline, and year over year for core and headline. GDP was noticeably lower than expected. Noticeably lower. Again, they expected 2.5. Previously, we were 4.4. We ended up showing up at 1.4% this morning for GDP. Not good. Definitely not good. So, a lot of people are going to argue a stagflation environment right now, and I think that does make logical sense. I do think we're seeing weak labor. I think we're seeing weak labor outside of this GDP report. We're seeing weak labor. I think labor has shown signs of weakness, except for the official data we got on Wednesday last week. I think labor showed signs of weakness. Now, GDP, you know, and labor are not the same thing, but they're correlated some at least. So, I mean, Bitcoin's falling. Bitcoin's been falling for the last 3-4 hours, though. Like, here's Bitcoin. This was at 4:30 in my time, so this is like 5:30 market time. Bitcoin's been falling down pretty drastically, and even from this report, you know, a lot of people could argue weak GDP, could argue more stimulus, and Bitcoin wants stimulus, but Bitcoin has reacted negatively on this report as well. I think the high inflation print maybe pushes stimulus odds back a little bit, and again, yields haven't really moved. So if you take a look at yields, an interesting thing here, and it kind of makes sense, because if you think, again, when I always explain yields, again, yields and interest rates follow each other. And so if we have something that's going to make it higher, like higher interest rates more probable, yields will go up. If we have something that makes lower interest rates, like more cuts this year, more probable, yields will go down. And so what we got from this report was we got it moving one way from inflation being hotter than expected, showing yields potentially spiking. But we also had 1.4% GDP showing, you know, maybe we need more stimulus if GDP is getting that weak. If we're trending towards a recession, you know, the Fed should be proactive about rate cuts. And at a certain point, the priority becomes cutting interest rates to stimulate the labor market versus inflation. Because again, I've explained this many times, but if we do not avoid a recession through economic stimulus like rate cuts, I'm not a fan of QE right now, but I think we could probably argue another cut, maybe. But again, if we do not cut rates and try to get proactive about avoiding a recession, then once we enter that, the Fed will have to super ease and super print to get us out of it. In their mind, and that will cause inflation a lot more than, you know, steady 25 basis point rate cuts, to be honest, in my opinion. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Again, I'm not necessarily... This is just subjective opinion, but let me know what you guys think. Gold is the way to go. Gold is pushing up on this report, believe it or not. I think one thing that this report shows is worries. Instability. High inflation, weak GDP. I think gold's probably, you know... I think it makes sense that gold's pushing up, just on more instability here. Is quantitative tightening coming soon? I don't know. I don't think we should tighten necessarily either. Not with GDP at 1.4%. You know. And again, people like to hate on Kevin Warsh, right? And again, a lot of people interpreted Kevin Warsh's nomination as a hawkish thing for the Fed. But again, Warsh historically has been consistent in a couple ways. Warsh has been critical of quantitative easing. You know, so like a lot of people label him a hawk because he's critical of quantitative easing. And again, QE is just a form of money printing where they create online money in the Fed and then they use that to expand their balance sheet through asset purchases, bond purchases and stuff. But again, this causes inflation much faster. It's a more desperate thing, right? So it brings interest rates down quick, but it also causes inflation in a more profound way. And so Warsh has been historically very critical of doing this. And so I think with Warsh, what we'll probably get, and again, I'm not being political, this is just what I think we'll probably get from Warsh, is I think we'll get Warsh willing to cut interest rates, but less willing to do quantitative easing. And again, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that probably is the right move right now. You know, stimulate the labor market through some small rate cuts. It's not going to stimulate it crazy amounts, but it'll stimulate it enough to maybe be proactive about avoiding a recession, but just don't super print. You know, don't print money, cause inflation to spike. A lot of the reason we have inflation now, again, is from 2020 and the rate cuts and the QE we did then. You know, and there's a lot of other stuff, but you have to either tighten or ease quantitative. You have to either do QT or QE. Which one? Oof, I don't know, man. Right now, neither. But right now, I don't want either one of those things. I don't think we're in a desperate enough situation to justify either one of those things as well. I think if inflation gets up to 3.5% and starts trending higher, then maybe you could argue QT. I think if inflation stays around 3% or less, and the labor market shows cooling, I think you could argue rate cuts. If the labor market starts cooling profoundly and GDP starts to get close to negative, then maybe we could do QE. And right now, I think the Fed's just keeping their balance sheet the same size. Again, gold ripping up to 50, 60s here. And again, guys, just to put this link up here, if you want to check out Apex, Apex has a 90% off sale going on right now. So Apex actually has a pretty cheap sale going on right now. Again, I'm curious to see what odds are doing here. Hold on. So look, here's odds. Odds of a rate cut are up to 6% now on this report. Yeah, and again, we might potentially get a rate decision today. Or a decision regarding the tariffs, I mean. So we might potentially get a tariff decision today. Again, if you want to check out Apex, I think, let me see if they're, I don't think they're down. Let me make sure. Apex, again, 90% off sale right now. 90% off sale. There's the link right there in chat if you want to check it out. Again, 90% off. So very cheap right now for Apex accounts. They're an affiliate of mine. I'm getting a bias, but very cheap right now. You can check them out. Promo code BG. Yeah, gold is spiking up. Look at gold. 50, 60s here. 50, 60s. We might get, it's not a rate announcement. I'm sorry. We might get a tariff decision at 10 a.m. today. So in about an hour and 8 minutes, the Supreme Court releases an opinion day. Or releases opinions, I should say. And one of them could be the decision. One of them could be the decision. I'm not saying it is. It could be the decision today. Again, I don't necessarily think we're getting one today. But we could. We could. And if we do, again, I think it's a little sketchy right now. Again, we might day trade here. Again, this is on trade debate right now. We might day trade, but see what we get. I have to look at gold. If we get a bounce up to like right around here, I'm gonna short. If we get a bounce up to like 790, I'm gonna short this. We get opinions from the Supreme Court that might include a reversal decision on the president's tariffs. So again, considering how much volatility we got from the announcement of those tariffs in April, a reversal of the tariffs could cause upward or downward volatility as well here. Again, I'd like 790s. I don't know if we're going to get it, but if we get up to 790s, I'll short. Look at the net effect of this, though. So we are down today. Oh, man, what a bad report. What a bad report. Yeah, I'll look to short up here. I need a little bounce, though, to short into this. Yeah, gold, guys. Look at gold here. Okay, gold is moving. Hold on. Yeah, gold. Ugh. What's the symbol for gold right now, guys? What's the symbol for gold? What is it? What's the letter? Okay, there it is. This is it right here. It's J6. Gold spiking up. 50.68s here. 50.68s. Reversal helps cool inflation. There's another layer of uncertainty in regards. Yeah, we have manufacturing, flash manufacturing, PMI 945 today as well. We're going to cover all this stuff as soon as it drops, guys. So we are going to cover all this stuff as soon as it drops. Bad news, small dump. Why? I don't know. I mean, it was bad news for sure. GDP showed 1.4 versus 3% expected. Inflation was all higher than expected. Gold is benefiting from this probably more than a lot of other things, you know. Yeah, we got the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report. Again, I'm not the most trustworthy of that report here. Again, we'll do another poll here. With today's hot inflation and low GDP, are you bullish or bearish for the opening bell? Vote in the poll. Here's the S&P 500 here. Hold on. Yeah, if we get a bounce here on the NASDAQ, I will short this. I'd like 80s or 90s, though, to short it. Like, if we get up to maybe 775, I'll short that. But we got to get up here first. Like, I don't mind shorting right here at 775. But I got to kind of wait for this. Again, gold elevated. Is the data bad for cuts chance? I think it's kind of neutral. It's high inflation, which means less likely that we cut. And it's low GDP, which means more likely that we cut. So it's kind of sandwiched in the middle here in terms of bad. It's bad GDP and bad inflation. Right? So it's weak GDP and high inflation. A lot of people are going to argue stagflation here. And again, stagflation is an economic situation that can sometimes precede a recession in which we have the worst of both things in terms of inflation and labor. Weak labor, strong, high inflation is what it is. Michael Burry, correct. Well, Michael Burry's predictions mostly have to do with AI overvaluations. Now, I think you could also argue maybe AI is impacting the labor market. And I think this is obvious. I think it's going to impact. I think we'll eventually get growth in other ways in labor from robotics and other things that people gain employment from and spend specifically. But I think the short-term effect of it is obviously going to be, it's going to be replacing, especially like digital designers. Digital designers are probably in trouble from AI. And, you know, writers are obviously in trouble. Programmers are obviously in trouble. I don't think programmers are in as much trouble as like writers or digital designers, but I don't think they're necessarily safe either. As somebody that programs front-end developer with JavaScript and React Native, and I know some Python and some other stuff. Again, a lot of the stuff that junior programmers do now is going to be replaced by AI. You're still going to have experienced senior programmers that still need jobs and stuff, but you know, you are going to lose some hiring from that, I think, and I think that's obvious. So. Oh my God, Becky, look at that GDP. You like big GDP? Can't I lie? You don't have it today, bro. You got low GDP today, sir. This country is headed for a huge recession. No spending is going to occur. Growth in labor from robotics, not enough growth. It's not just robotics, but go back to school getting my business degree. Business degrees are saturated as well. Although, again, a degree is better than nothing. But if I had to go back, I'd get an engineering degree, personally. I'd get some STEM degree, but engineering's looking like one of the big degree fields that is a little bit safer right now. All right, guys, so we're moving higher here. Again, we get up to 775. I will short this. You know, we'll start to short it right here. See what we get. Right, so we just jumped in short. I'll add to this as it goes on. I kind of want to short 775. We have a little bit of room to add and scale and take some risk here. We could get a squeeze out though. That's very possible. All right, there's 775. I'm going to take 8 contracts here. I'm not going to add any more to this. All right, we're about flat here. I mean, we're down a little bit, but it looks like it could reverse. So I'm going to give it a second here. Again, 775 is my reversal level. If we get it. The report was bad in a lot of different areas. It was higher inflation than expected, higher than last time inflation, as well as weaker GDP. GDP expected at 3%. We ended up showing up at 1.4%. So noticeably lower GDP and slightly higher inflation. Again, the worst of both sides, to be honest. Not the worst, but bad for both sides. High inflation and weak GDP is not generally a good recipe here. So. I'm going to give this a second to break down here, too. There we go. There we go. Take a little bit off here. Trying to liquidate some of this. I'll give the rest some time. All right, we're going to take that off too. Again, remember guys, I was talking about 775, and if you look at where we rejected here, 775 here. I'm going to cut this right there and just lock it in. Again, look at 775, just to put this into perspective. This is 775 right here. I love scalping these major levels because at the very least, most of the time, we at least respect them some to where we pull back down. I'm not going to... I don't think I'm going to attack the retest here, but I think we also could easily actually come back down to lows. But sometimes what you expect to happen and what happens are very different. Al's not causing this. All right, guys. And again, we have an hour before the Supreme Court tariff decision. We have an hour. Gold is elevated on this report. One thing this report does show is uncertainty. Okay, we obviously have uncertainty now from this report. So again, S&P remains expensive according to Bank of America. They see further downside. They say it's still costly expensive on 18 of 20 valuation metrics with four near record highs according to Bank of America. They expect earnings-driven PE compression despite robust EPS. Software stands out as their worst performing sector this year, down 20% year to date with valuations near decade lows amid AI worries. So they think the target is 7,100. They think a quick rebound is unlikely according to Bank of America. Again, spot gold is higher. NASDAQ did end up ripping over 775 here, so we got out just in time for this. Again, we get up to 800s, I'll short that too. Time for a decision, pretty please. Again, I don't know what we're going to get here. I really don't. I genuinely don't know what we're going to get with this type of stuff. Again, we're going to day trade the open. 25 minutes, but we do have to kind of wait for this. All right, so we're down to 50-60s here. Yeah, we're down to 50-60s. Again, the NASDAQ right here. I do want to short this again. I think I might. I might jump in early. We'll see if not waiting for my entry price is the right move, but oh, I missed it. It's all right. We jumped in two. We'll add some more to this if it does well. Again, I think the tariff decision could also cause some fears. We'll take 4 contracts now since we're green enough. We have a cushion on the day as well. See if the NASDAQ breakdown continues. Again, we did a poll this morning here. We asked people with hotter inflation and low GDP, are you bullish or bearish for today's opening bell? 65% on the poll. A lot of the time it's 50-50. This time it's not. We have 66% of people that are bearish for the opening bell. 35% are bullish. I'm not going to add to this. I'll just give this time to break down maybe here in the NASDAQ. We'll let it work some. Again, OpenAI's 200-person team has reportedly developed AI devices, including a smart speaker, according to the information. Yeah, we have a potential tariff decision coming at 10 a.m. today. So yeah, we have a potential tariff decision coming today. Yeah. That's the next big thing here, to be honest. Tariffs. Okay, so we're flat. What is this? I want to see if we start to move down to test lows here. We have 27 minutes until the open. Is this a buy the dip scenario? I don't like this data good enough. I don't like this data enough to buy the dip now. I'm still trying to ride a trend continuation pattern here. Now I have a cushion on the day, and I'm a little early versus what I wanted to get into, but I think the market also confirmed it a little bit and started breaking down. I want to see if the 775 rejects it again. If it doesn't, then maybe we'll get out, but Dallas Fed PCE is today as well. Yeah, we have PMI data at 9:45. We do have manufacturing PMI data coming out today as well. It's not big. It's flash PMI data, so it could move. It could move things. We'll see. Again, it could move things. We'll see. Services and manufacturing PMI drop in 39 minutes here, roughly. So 9:45 market time. I'm talking about Eastern time, 10 a.m. Eastern. And again, I'll put the timer up like I have this morning. Yeah, because the tariff decision really is in 51 minutes or so. So there's a timer for that. We are agreed on this trade. I want to give it a second to break. Meta said they're working with the UK National Crime Agency and police forces to disrupt alleged online scams. OpenAI smart speaker price at $200 to $300 won't ship until February next year at the earliest. Will it be a bullish or bearish year in markets, guys? Let me know. Bitcoin back to prior level. Yeah, Bitcoin back up some. And again, I think Bitcoin wants easing. All right, we're going to take a little bit off of this here. Protect the trade, see if we break down some more. But again, Bitcoin, guys, up to almost 67,000 again here. That's 66.9s right now for Bitcoin. So it has rebounded. And again, Bitcoin wants easing. So maybe the weak GDP shows more justification for easing potential for Bitcoin. I'm not 100% sure. The question is, do I add more to this and make it a larger trade, or just cut this last piece at about break even? Gonna cut it and maybe add back when I bounce here, I think. Again, 2 green trades so far. Gold's still ripping up at 50-60s here. 50-60s. Here's the NASDAQ. It did break down some. Bearish until quarter 3. Bearish bull, bear. A lot of bears in chat today. Yeah, we're going to be day trading live here today. See what happens. Any dip buyers today? How many people want to buy this dip right now in the NASDAQ? I'm not telling you to do it. I'm not doing it. I think we're too close to the lows of the day, and we're dropping down too much from the potential tariff decision. Or not just that, but from PCE and GDP data being weak. And so the bear thesis was right. Anybody wanting to buy this dip? No. Silver's telling the real story of the day. Yeah, gold is as well. Uncertainty reigns today. Silver up over 80. It was over 80 before the opening bell, or before any of this stuff happened, though. But again, gold, 50-60s right now for gold. 50-60s. Go dip buying here. I'm doing it now. No. Yes. 23,500 NASDAQ. 20K intra-year. Yes. Maybe a few hundred points lower. I'm in on silver. Huge velocity outside the range. What's your thoughts on quantum? I think quantum is an interesting sector. I think it's early, though. And so even if quantum is that big thing, it's still early. And sometimes early is the same thing as wrong. And I think if you look at like Rigetti, down to 16s from big runs. It was at 58s back in October. It's now at $16. You look at QBTS. You look at a lot of other quantum stocks that have had very large pullbacks. So I think quantum could be that next big technology. But it's still really, really early. And so the variance regarding which way it's going to go and how quickly and so forth is higher, if that makes sense, right? Like that's my take on quantum. So. Yeah, it keeps dipping. Yeah, it's a quote from The Big Short. It had to do with Michael Burry. Michael Burry tells his friend, his billionaire friend, who invested a bunch of money into his firm, I might be early, but I'm not wrong. And his friend responds with, that's the same thing, Mike. You know? In the end, Burry was right. He was early. I don't necessarily agree with some of the derivative trades he took, but he made billions of dollars from it, and he'll slap me with his wallet if he needs to. So, again, sometimes early is the same thing as wrong. But sometimes it's not. But if it's too early, obviously it's wrong. And I think the risk goes up the earlier you are, obviously. So, anyways, NASDAQ keeps dipping. Here. Gold pulling back a little bit. Is it time to buy gold here? 50-60s. Again, I think one thing that might benefit from this report is gold. Obviously, gold has benefited. The report showed up, just to put this into perspective, the report showed up right here. And gold has rallied from it. Up to 50-60s here on gold. NASDAQ obviously has turned red. Again, higher PCE inflation, lower GDP print, making people nervous here today. I think I'm going to change the bottom scroller to markets are scrambling today after higher PCE, lower GDP, a possible Supreme Court decision, tariff ruling, and escalating U.S.-Iran tensions. Roller here. All right, guys, 15 minutes until the opening bell. Let's see what we get today. All right, chat. Get 15 minutes. 15 minutes. You asked if we wanted you to add to your short, and me and Pew said add more. Why did you ask? Because I was curious to see other people's sentiment here. It doesn't mean I'm going to listen to you guys. No offense. Y'all are just a bunch of randoms. No offense. It's all love. Top 3 randoms ever. But y'all are just a bunch of randoms here. I should have held them. You guys were right. I should have listened. You know, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I should have listened. You're right. I am using, for futures, I am using Take Profit Trader. Again, use my promo code BG if you want to help support the channel. And Apex as well. And then in stocks, and this is TOS, Thinkorswim, Schwab, TD Ameritrade. Look at the NASDAQ just crack lows of the day. 24.7s here. 24.7s on the NASDAQ. Breaking down a little bit. Again, tech's starting to fall back down a little bit as well here. Look at this NASDAQ candle here, though, man. Yeah, this is interesting because the president tweeted earlier at about 7:50 in the morning. And again, he said, quote, the shutdown cost the USA at least 2 points in GDP. Okay, at least 2 points. Remember, it was expected. Remember, last time, the previous number here, just to put this into perspective, the previous number was 4.4%. What's 4.4%? Or no, I guess that would be 3. Yeah, I mean, again, if you look at 4.4%, we showed up at 1.4%. You know, it's more than 2 percentage points, but did he leak at the very least the expectation of weak GDP data here? GDP growth is now at its lowest since Q1 of last year, 2025. Again, Jamie Dimon is also selling 21 million in JP Morgan stock. He sold 21 million of the bank's shares on Thursday, yesterday. Dimon began selling in 2023 after holding stock for most of his 20-year tenure. He previously sold 180 million at the end of 2023. X7 gonna vomit. Yeah, again, if we look at the GDP data here, guys, so if you take a look at this, to be honest. Again, if we take a look at this GDP data, or if we take a look at the inflation data here. The BE notes that tariffs have been pushing up core goods prices in recent months, while services, especially shelter and medical-related components, continue to put pressure on inflation. So the BEA blamed it on tariffs, pushing up core goods prices, and services, especially shelter and medical-related services, continuing to put upward pressure on inflation, is what they blamed it on. How much time we got? We got 12 minutes. Do I buy this dip right now? Where's Nvidia at? Gold's still elevated here. Again, guys, let's see what we get today. Again, Nvidia down to 186s here. NASDAQ down to 24.7s. No, don't buy the dip. It's going lower. Take out the flakes. I don't know if I'm going to buy the dip. And again, I'm taking a look at yields right now, guys. So if we take a look at yields here, yields are up. So again, most people, we finally have a little bit more digestion in yields. And which means that less likely that we're going to cut interest. So again, yields are up. $4.07. NASDAQ just cracked lows. Again, Nvidia falling down. NASDAQ falling down here at 24.7s. Here we got 10 minutes until the open. Let's see what we get. Time to make donuts. Watch them rip it in your face because they know. Again, tariff decision potentially at 10 a.m. today. That's the next big story here. We have flash manufacturing and services PMI, but that's pretty small. It's not like ISM data, which is a little bit more influential. Although we have seen some swings in PMI manufacturing and services data lately here. So it is possible that we get some movement from the flash PMI data. We'll see. All right, is it time to buy this here? Let me see. All right, I'm gonna buy Nvidia here, guys. Don't judge me here. I know it's kind of a sketchy buy. It's gonna be a scalp if we do buy it. No thanks. I don't need auto send here. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. You know what my problem with TOS is that I can't save this type of layout here. Like I can't save this right here. Where's the TIF? There it is. I can't save this layout. By the time I got this order, we bounced a little bit already here. Fills are kind of slow. Look at that fill. Eh. Gotta get a lower fill here. Come on now. By the ask price, I guess. OCD wants me to have an even amount here. There we go. Not even, but 175. I like 25 increments. Yeah, again, check out Take Profit Trader. Again, promo code BG, beginner trading. Remember this face when you use your code. You can also use the same code on Apex. BG. It stands for beginner. What do we have? We have 6 minutes left. Today's going to be terrific. Did I say that right? Terrific. Okay, I got it. Can anybody tell me the tariff decision? Well, we don't know what they're actually going to say. At this point in time, there's about a 76% likelihood that they reverse the tariffs. About a 76% likelihood. And so I think it has to do with the context of, like, what's the most probable thing right now? That's what's baked into the markets. And so if we do an opposite thing, then maybe we'll get more volatility. But like that's my guess here. It did hurt to say. Again, at this point, if we look at, like, yeah, we can take a look at poly market and other odds markets and see tariff decisions there. Again, currently at 24% chance. Right now, 24% chance. 24% chance they rule in favor of the president's tariffs, which obviously is low. 76% chance they reverse them. Yeah, I am in this, but I think we're almost back green from this bounce here. I want to give it some time. We have 5 minutes until the opening bell. Yes, sir. All right. I'm going to cut it. Some of it there. A little bit more. Hold on to this little piece. Oh, what a bounce. I should have taken larger size here, but that's all right. I'll just cut it right there. That's fine. What a bounce here. The market on open helping me out. I'm sure that's the market on open data pushing markets up. Hatson says on his New York Fed reaction probably got a little too emotional. He said the president's economy is running pretty close at 3%. A judge recently, on today's GDP report, he said it's somewhat disappointing. Again, so Hassett apparently speaking right now. He says the Trump economy is running pretty close to 3%. Why markets are down today? Because we had weak GDP and higher inflation than expected. And again, if you haven't already, give me a follow on x.com at Beginner Trades here. At Beginner Trades. X.com at Beginner Trades. Bitcoin be down by 60,000 today? I don't know. Yeah, Bitcoin currently at 67,000 even ahead of the opening bell. Here's Bitcoin right here. So again, Bitcoin at 67,000. Again, we have 3 minutes until the opening bell. 3 minutes. Will Bitcoin be down by $60,000 today within 2 hours? I don't think so. It's possible. Again, maybe we'll get a delayed reaction. I seriously doubt the Supreme Court will reverse the tariffs. It would cause a little chaos if they did, I think. I know, bro. I said the forbidden letter, forbidden numbers. I know, man. I know. Listen, I have a 12-year-old son. I know. Again, Nvidia at 186s, guys. Nvidia at 186. Intel just cracked lows. Nasdaq pushing back down here, though. Again, gold dipping a little bit, but it does look like a flag pattern here on gold. I'm not saying it's going to work, not an investment professional. But tell me that doesn't look like a flag pattern on a short-term 1-minute chart. Again, 2 minutes left, chat. 2 minutes into the opening bell. Tariff reversal today will be heavily bullish. I've seen people debate which side they think it's going to go on. I'm really not sure. All right, chat. We got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. Time for the opening bell. Will the Nasdaq tumble at the opening bell? Nasdaq getting very close to the lows of the day right around the opening bell. We bounced right around 24.7 here. We're back down to that level now, testing it here. So again, we'll see if we hold. 40 seconds left, guys. 40 seconds. All right, here we go, guys. Again, Nasdaq down at 24.7, 1/4. Here we go. There's the bell. Again, if that's delayed, hit the live button next to the play button, put it at 2x speed to catch up. Again, Nasdaq bounced a little bit short term at the opening bell, but it's not enough to really mean it's going to go up. Let's see what happens here. Again, here's the open. Nasdaq just cracked lows right at the opening bell here, 24.6s. Nasdaq falling some at the open. Gold dipping down a little bit as well, but Nasdaq just retraced. Let's see what happens. I'm watching Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, Google today. Nvidia did break down some. I'm glad I sold that long position. Although, look at the Nasdaq retrace all the way back up. That's too early to figure out which way. I gotta wait 5 minutes at least before I trade this. So again, a Supreme Court decision potentially at 10 a.m. today. See what happens. Look at gold. All right, guys, we're still trying to push up. Look at the gold chart. Gold chart flag worked. You get a flag, and sometimes like a bullish flag would be here. A bull flag would be this. And so gold's still ripping here. Testing highs of the day for gold. Just broke highs of the day for gold up to almost 50.70s now. Nasdaq is rebounding a little bit at the open after dropping from the original reports here. Again, we're too early after the bell. We're only 2 minutes after the bell, so I do have to wait a little bit of time before I trade this. Waiting on the data. Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see the PMI data move things. I'm not 100% sure there. Maybe we do. Here's the 70-80 level we traded earlier. Again, Nvidia is shooting up a little bit. It's at 187s now. It's right at the 200 EMA though, so I'm a little nervous about a rejection here. But look at gold, guys. Gold 5071s now for gold. Alphabet's pushing up as well, over the 200 EMA in the VWAP now for Alphabet. Nvidia's pushing up. It's at 187.40s. Nasdaq pushing up. Gold pushing up. So we're seeing somewhat of a rebound here, and this is heading into flash PMI data in about 13 minutes. So you get Nvidia at 187s, 188s. All right, guys, look at the Nasdaq here. And again, we're going to get ready to start trading. I do want to see if we reject this level here, though. Again, look at the Nasdaq just broke over 24.8. Nvidia shooting up here as well. I'm about to go green on the day for Nvidia. So is a lot of things here. Microsoft that. Again, regarding a potential tariff decision, I might short this right here. Again, we're already green on the day, so I'll add a little bit, but I might short this right here. There we go, green. I want to give it a second. I think there's enough uncertainty today where we could break down. Not really holding down enough for me to take profit though. Took half off there. We're just kind of scalping this down. Give it a little bit more time here. Here we go. A little bit more off. I want to cut it before we get a potential bounce here. So I'm just going to attack that short-term weakness. Again, we're up about 200 on the day here. Pretty small. Again, if you want to trade with me on Apex or take profit, promo code BG. BG. Previous closing price is up there too. So looks like I got out just in time. I did jump back in a short here. Kind of down on this though. We just got to rip back up. So we'll be probably flat on the day if we cover this. Too big of a rip too soon. Too much strength showing up in markets. We'll give it a second, but I got to cut my losses here if we start to. I'm going to cut half of it here just in case. Again, Alphabet is just ripping up too much right now, so we'll come back to it. We're down on the day a little bit now, $20. So Alphabet's trying to break the pre-market high, just tap the pre-market high here. Again, it doesn't look like it's slowing down either, but we'll see. Again, we do have a potential flash PMI data dropping in less than 10 minutes here as well. So potential flash PMI data dropping in less than 10. Again, will that data affect markets? It could. It might not. I'm not sure, to be honest. I gotta start using limit orders. All right, right, look at Google here, though, man. Google's still churning higher here. Look at the NASDAQ. Again, a lot of stuff has just been flying up here. Gold ripped down here. Look at Google. Again, Alphabet has been one of the stocks that have just flown up this morning at 310s right now. 310s. Yeah, NASDAQ now technically green on the day. Retraced all the PCE and GDP fall. Yeah, if you want to check out Apex here, you can use promo code BG. 90% off right now. I believe 90% off on Apex until the 24th. Again, learn to trade with somebody else's money, not your own. Most day traders lose. I got started day trading. I saw the movie Big Short. I thought I was going to be rich. I thought I was going to be driving a Lambo within minimum or maximum a year, you know. Instead, I just lost thousands of dollars very quickly. Very quickly. Very common tale. This happens to most people. Limit your risk. Funded account program. They give you a demo, test your skill, you pass it, they fund you, same amount. You fail it, you only lose the test challenge amount, which is usually, you know, $100 or less. It just makes sense to learn that way. 80% split once you're funded. So again, if you want to check them out, there's the link. You are rich because I have us. I'm rich because I have friends. I'm rich in friends, guys. Rich in friends. Online internet friends, but friends nonetheless. All right, guys, so NVIDIA now dipping underneath the previous closing price, now technically red here, guys. Again, remember promo code BG on both Apex and take profit. Yeah, at the time, remember that face when you want to check out. Use my promo code BG. But no, at the time, I thought, you know, Carol was actually like, no, don't do it, John. I was like, hey, I got $4,000. I'm going to put that money up, you know. I was following some of the penny stock gurus. You know, I just like teaching millionaire students. And I did what most people do, which is just lost all your money within a couple weeks day trading. Very common. Very common. He's speaking right now, but I don't think it's market moving. Although he's bound to probably say something. He said, considering a limited strike on Iran. Let's see what oil's doing right now. Oil spiking up a little bit on this. Again, he said, quote, considering a limited strike on Iran. Let me find this. All right, guys, we got flash PMI data in 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Terrifying. Terrific. Yeah, I saw Kane went to jail and then got out recently. I saw that. He's like 40 something now. You always tell us that part of the story. Tell us what you did next. What I did next was I started beginner trading and earned more money from that than I ever lost in trading, you know. So in the end, it worked out. $4,000 wildly justified in spending. And, you know, I lost enough money. I figured people need to see what it's really like versus all the people acting like millionaires. Everybody acts like millionaires. You know, they say, oh, look at they sell courses. They act like millionaires. I don't do any of that stuff. You know, top 3 worst trader ever here. You're welcome. Again, even a lot of the people that make money, they're using, like, they're just following algo signals anyway, and they're acting like it's their own. And so, yeah, I'm not hating. I'm just being honest. That's what really is going on. All right, guys, look at NASDAQ here. 24 nines. Who knew we would run today on high inflation and weak GDP? I should have held that dip buy. I got in earlier on Nvidia, huh? Nvidia up to 188s right now. And I'm green on the day. Very, very nicely green on the day, actually. Day trading and stocks. Amazon. My position in Amazon's doing pretty well. Yeah, my promo code's BG for both of them. Let me know what it stands for. What's the abbreviation stand for? All right, guys. Potential Supreme Court tariff decision. 10 a.m. I am holding PayPal right now. It's a small position, though. Again. All right, guys. So here we go. Manufacturing PMI shows up. Services PMI show up in 1 minute here. 1 minute. All right, guys. Less than a minute. All right, guys, here we go. We got about 30 seconds until PMI data. We'll see if this bumps markets back down. Honestly, we've seen a lot of strength in the PMI data recently, to be honest here. So we've honestly seen a decent amount of strength in manufacturing and services PMI lately. I'm not saying that's what we're going to get today, but lately we honestly have seen a lot of strength there. So... All right, guys, here we go. The data is out. So we ended up showing up for manufacturing weaker than expected at 51.2. Services were 52.3. Both of them weaker than expected. Services was weaker than last time at 52.7. Manufacturing was weaker than expected and weaker than last time as well. So both of these were weaker than expected. Global composite was a little bit lower than expected as well here. So a little bit weaker than expected manufacturing data. But again, it didn't really move anything because it's not really big. The Institute of Supply Management PMI data is the biggest data. And so this isn't really going to move things. The real question mark is what we get regarding the Supreme Court tariff decision going live at 10 a.m. today. That's the big question here is what do we get for that? Yeah, so again, we're going to get potential tariff decision regarding the emergency tariffs. Will we get a tariff decision today, guys? 10 a.m. Again, NASDAQ still continuing its climb higher here. You love to see it. You love to see it. Again, here's the flash services data, though. I'll put some of this data up on screen. All right, oil still falling back down here. Again, gold still elevated on the day at 50.81s right now. Bitcoin back under 66,000. All right, we just jumped into a reversal trade here. I'm going to take some of this off. See if we can drop some more. We have 5 micros here. Got a big enough cushion here. I think we've gone up enough to where I can maybe short and get a little bit of edge on the downside right now. There we go. Some of that off again. There we go. Take some of that off again. Out. Yeah, so today we are up $387 on this account. $387. Hey, John, there's a lot of puts expiring today. If the Supreme Court doesn't make a tariff today, do you think there might be a squeeze of these puts? Maybe. It's possible. Not optimistic on SCOTUS decision. We just found out the consumers are paying for 94% of tariffs. Yeah, inflation was higher than expected. The chance of tariff decision getting postponed is, it's not that it's going to get postponed. It's that today we have a potential tariff decision. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that they don't tell you which cases are in each batch that they release on opinion days. And so we don't actually know. I have some sources here that might show when we're going to get a potential tariff decision, or that show immediately whether the opinions are in each batch. But I don't think we're necessarily getting it today. We might, though, and I'm going to pay attention to this at 10 a.m., of course. And we also have Michigan data going live at 10 a.m., so we got stuff going on at 10 today. But the problem is that we don't know if we're actually getting the tariff decision today or not. And I would say, just based off of a lot of rumors, there's some rumors that we're not going to get it until May or longer. We have potential tariff decisions today, Tuesday, and Thursday next week, I believe, is the schedule. So today, Tuesday, and Thursday next week, we could get the opinion on the tariffs, but we also might not. And so we're going to sit around at 10 a.m. and see if we get it. I'm not sure. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left. I believe people that believe tariffs are inflationary is staggering. I mean, it's a really nuanced argument. I mean, I think they're obviously at least somewhat. But yeah, I saw the potential attack on Iran news. Oil's up, gold's up, Nasdaq now dipping, and oil starting to dip down though. He said it wasn't a. What did he describe it as? It wasn't. He didn't describe it as like some big attack. He described it as, again, the president's going to travel to China from March 31st through April 2nd. Bostic says businesses in the Southeast do not think there is a cliff approaching for the job market and are not looking to reduce staff. He says employers are more cautious about hiring because of the possibility of saving labor with AI tools. Again, Bostic said, no, we already read that. Yeah, so he, again, president is considering a limited strike on Iran. He said, I guess I can say I am considering that, when in a response to a question from reporters at the opening of breakfast with the governors at the White House. So that is what we got right now. Music stopped. Not like margin call music stopped, but just the actual literal music stopped. Let me find it. Again, as of now, 24% chance they keep the tariffs. We did get a pretty large pullback here, though. Where's my music? All right, guys, 8 minutes here. 8 minutes. Again, we should have a potential tariff decision today. Again, we'll see if we get it or not, but we should have. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say we should have one. But we could have one, I should say. I don't think we actually will. Again, just to put it in perspective, my opinion here is that we do not get it. Nvidia's starting to dip down some, though. Look at Nvidia fall. Nvidia down to 187s here, 187s. So, again, 8 minutes here, chat. 8 minutes. If you're an upside trader or investor, get out. You think markets are going to correct big? Hope the tariff decision takes the market. Maybe, man. Again, I don't know if we're going to get one today. Potentially, we might get one. And again, we are ready here. Again, 7 minutes here, chat. 7 minutes. All right, again, guys, 10 a.m. is approaching fast. All right, guys, get ready. All right, guys, look at NASDAQ bouncing right at the volume-weighted average price. And again, so we have some sources that should tell us which opinions come out as they happen, but we'll cover this news when it drops. Again, 6 minutes left. Again, we do have sources that'll tell us which ones come out as they happen, but again, time will tell. Let's see what we get. Yeah, we also have APEX options expiring today. So, yeah, again, so the U.S. Supreme Court is supposed to release opinions today. We'll see if they release the tariff one. And we'll see. Five minutes here, chat. 5 minutes. Data's coming soon. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Yes, people are saying 5 more minutes until we find out whether my day is lost. Here we go, guys. 4 minutes. Potential tariff decision coming. 4 minutes here. Here's the NASDAQ. Here's NVIDIA. I'm going to look at maybe the dollar index from this. A lot of questions about this. Again, we have 4 minutes left. Should they reverse the tariffs? We asked this earlier. I'm not sure. Should they? Big question. Again, I really don't know. I think we could have volatility from either side. I think if we reverse the tariffs, we could restart the whole volatility cycle of the tariffs, which, if you remember, when they first announced these tariffs in April, we got big corrections, big drops in markets. So reversing them, could cause markets to go up, or it could restart the volatility cycle if you think they're going to find ways to implement tariffs regardless of whether this gets reversed or not. I think they will, and I think what this is really going to affect is the precedent moving forward. But the question is, how much volatility do we get from this report? Again, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see if we get it today. It is a Friday. We've had a lot of data already. PCE inflation data, GDP data. GDP was weak. PCE inflation was hotter than expected. And now, again, we'll see. Again, we're waiting here. 3 minutes here, chat. 3 minutes. All right, chat. Again, is it only, how many opinions are we getting today potentially? They're saying maybe only just one. So I have to make sure. But again, 2 minutes left here, chat. 2 minutes left. Again, will we get a president's tariff reversal today? Again, odds are 74%. Or odds are 24% likely they keep the tariffs and 76% likely they reverse the tariffs. If you look at the odds here. 24% chance they rule in favor of the tariffs only. So again, this is with 2 minutes left. All right, guys, here we go. 1.5 minutes left. Again, Bitcoin, as we speak, is at 67,000 here. 67,000. Bostic says labor is tight and also agriculture and hospitality. That developers across the board say it's hard to find the workers to build the homes that are in demand, leading to higher prices. Current administration issues proposed rule that could pause work permits for asylum applicants for many years, according to the Federal Registry. Bostic says changes in immigration have dented labor supply. All right, guys, 1 minute left here. 1 minute left. We'll see if the opinion drops today, to be honest. We'll see. Again, less than 1 minute. Again, we don't know if the Supreme Court decision is actually in the batch today or not. We really don't know. So we'll have to wait and find out after 10 a.m. It is 9:59. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed if you want to make sure you're real time on the stream. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Make sure you're real time on the stream. We have 30 potential seconds left. NASDAQ is holding a little bit ahead of this report. Here's the dollar index on the right. Or on the left side, I mean. All right, here we go. 15 seconds. Again, hit the live button next to the play button. Here we go. 5 seconds. See what we get. We'll wait. Watch for volatility. Again, we do have a source that should give us some information quickly here. All right, there we go. All right, there's 10 a.m. right now. There's 10 a.m. Watch the NASDAQ. Watch the dollar index here. Potentially watch gold. Nothing yet. We're still checking here. Again, we're still checking on the Supreme on the website. I don't see too much movement here, to be honest. I don't see any update to this either. Last one we got was Klein versus Martin. Nothing yet. Markets have gone up a little bit at 10 a.m. though. We did have Michigan consumer sentiment data, just to clarify while we're waiting for this report. It showed up lower inflation expectations and weaker consumer sentiment. Lower inflation expectations and weaker consumer sentiment for the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index data. Maybe affecting markets a little bit here, but we're still waiting for the opinion to come out. Which ones are coming out today? So we're still waiting. Bitcoin's starting to go up at 67,000. NASDAQ's creeping up a little bit as well. Again, the only ones I'm seeing right now are Klein versus Martin. Klein v. Martin. Get nothing yet. Still waiting on this data here. Hold on, wait. There's a big spike in the NASDAQ here. Hold on. Big drop in the dollar index. Big spike in the NASDAQ here. Struck down by the Supreme Court. The tariffs have been struck down by the Supreme Court. The global tariffs have been struck down by the Supreme Court, apparently. So they reversed the tariffs. Look at the dollar index fall here. Wow. Again, they struck the tariffs down. Again, look at the NASDAQ fly over 25,000 here. Wow. Wow. Again, NASDAQ over 25,000. Dollar index has dumped all the way down to 97.7s here. President cannot impose tariffs under the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. They struck down the tariffs here. Again, here is the actual document right here, guys. Look at this. So again, impose tariffs to deal with each threat. Again, they were struck down here, basically, is what this means. Again, Trump's global tariff struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. They actually did release it today. Again, look at the dollar index fall and the NASDAQ rip up over 25,000 as we speak right now. Again, Trump's global tariff struck down. Interesting. Again, NASDAQ reacting well to this here. Look at the NASDAQ over 25,000. The dollar index just ripped up here too. Crazy. Again, we'll see if the NASDAQ holds. We're at 25,000 as we speak right now, 25K. Again, so the Supreme Court holds that Trump's emergency IEEPA tariffs are not authorized by the statute and cannot stand. Again, struck down. Wow. I didn't think we'd get one today, but I was wrong. Again, originally the dollar index, look at the NASDAQ here. So again, originally we reacted positively to this report. But now the dollar index is starting to push up and the NASDAQ is starting to turn. Again, so we'll see how this is affecting markets here. But again, a lot of stuff just turned. Oh, what am I so green on today? Nvidia, Nike, Home Depot, Amazon, PayPal, Snapchat, Treasury bonds, Target. Okay. Right. Again, tariffs struck down here, guys. Let's watch this market move here. Look at the dollar index, 97.9s here for the Dixie. Yeah, does the market keep turning down here? Are you bullish or bearish? I'm going to do a poll right now here, guys. Are you bullish or bearish on this data? Tariffs reversed. Are you bullish or bearish today? All right, guys. So again, tariffs reversed by the Supreme Court. Are you bullish or bearish today because of that? Again, the NASDAQ is actually starting to turn down here. It kind of retraced the big green move it made when this decision was first announced that the Supreme Court reversed the president's tariffs. Again, I told you guys it was a 76% likelihood. That's a pretty big majority. And again, NASDAQ right around neutral here, but it is starting to go somewhat red right now. Somewhat red. Vote on the poll. Give me 10 minutes to decide. Probably the right move here. That's probably the smart thing here. Again, I don't know. But again, the president's tariff struck down. NASDAQ's now going slightly red from this report. Again, the Supreme Court strikes down the president's IEEPA tariffs. Interesting here. Now I don't know where to go. Yeah. That's the news. We'll see. Again, you want to help support me? Again, you can check out Apex right now. Apex has got the biggest sale right now at 90%. So, you want to check out Apex. Great way to help support the channel. Again, if you want to day trade with me, I day trade every day. Do not fund your own account thousands of dollars. It makes no sense to. Yeah, we day trade live every weekday morning. We don't sell a course. I don't even claim to be a good trader. We just kind of give people free data, cover it fast, trade live, let people see it. And again, there's no PDT rule in futures. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold, commodities. Makes no sense to fund your own account thousands. Instead, it makes more sense to try this. You only lose what you pay for the challenge. And if you pass it, you get an 80%, 90% split in some places. No PDT rule. You know, makes more sense. Most day traders lose. Check it out right there. Great way to help support the channel. Promo code BG, beginner BG. Again, remember my face here when you check out. John, I'm reading there's no decision today. What are you talking about here? I'm talking about the fact that the Supreme Court just struck down the president's IEEPA tariffs. Again, Again, it's not just me. Every major news source is covering this. It's not just me. And I don't know where you're reading that from, but again, the court ruled that the president lacks authority under IEEPA to impose tariffs. They do not grant the executive power to levy such tariffs. Again, traders are now seeing the Fed waiting until July to cut rates. But again, every major news source is covering this. It's not just me, sir. Going to Disney World? I don't know what to do with this. I kind of want to short, and I'm very green on the day, and I think I'm going to short. Again, this is on a take profit trader at 40% off, no activation fees. I'm going to short here. We're very green on the day, so we can justify a losing trade here. But I'm only going to take 3 contracts because it's probably a little volatile. Oh, I'm getting punished here. I'm not going to take any more. I'll give it some time, though. Man. All right, the more it pushes up, the more sketched out I'm getting here. I'm gonna cut some of this. We're still green on the day, though. What are we up now? We're probably not up that much. We're still up $140 on the day, so we're still pretty green, actually. My stocks are doing really well also here. U-shaped recovery. Market is effed. Step away for 30 minutes and this happens. Bro, I told you we might get a tariff decision today, sir. Yeah, the dollar index doesn't know where to go. Neither does the NASDAQ here. And the president's tariff struck down. Yeah, look at the NASDAQ here. NASDAQ still shows strength, though. Best news stream ever, top 1. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. We do this live every day. NASDAQ's starting to get some strength here. We're right at 25K. Look at this move up right now. Sheesh, dude. We're covering into this drop here, though. Look at this. I'm gonna cover some more. Cover some more. Cover a little bit more. Give this a second here. Maybe hold the rest break even. Alright, we're gonna start covering the rest break even here. I don't know how much I'm up on the day. Up $664 now. Thank you for putting up with us sometimes and be the voice for us every day, bro. Hey, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir. Again, I try to just, like, look, I told people I wouldn't sell, like, paywalls. You know, like, I wouldn't have any paywalls behind the content I produce. So I'm not going to sell a course, you know. Microsoft doing well, though. I am in Microsoft. So I just try to give everything to everybody for free. Yeah, I might make less money or whatever, but that's all good. I kind of turned into economics and news, and we also day trade live. So we try to do a little bit of everything. I swing trade also. We buy stocks. We trade futures. So again, subscribe if you haven't yet, guys. I'm not going to pressure you, but I'll hate you forever if you don't. High PCE, low GDP, no rate cuts for months. Yeah, I mean, looking at yields here, I'm curious to see what yields are doing. Again, I think they're going to find ways to implement the tariffs anyway. Yields are up. Again, yields are up. Look at yields this morning. So yields are up to almost 4.1% as of now. Market doesn't know which way to go. Hey, nice free. Yeah, it's now looking like July when we're going to cut rates for the first time. If you check out the Fed Watch tool, We're only looking at 6.1% likely for March. Now July is when the majority happens. Even in June now, there's still a 46% chance that we cut no rates up to June. We only see this pivot over the odds for a rate cut in July now. So in July, it goes from now 29% expect no rates cuts by July, but 45% expect a 25 basis point cut by July. 21% expect 50 in basis cuts. 3.1% expect more, 75. So yeah, the odds push back for rates in general on the higher inflation data we got today. Hey, later, V. Have a good day, bro. Tariffs will really hold back the economy. This would not be the response. We're kind of muted in the response here. We went up originally, and then we pulled all the way back down and went red, and now we're back up to pretty green, and now we're rejecting at 25,000 again. So we're kind of muted here. I don't really know which way we're going to go. My stocks are running here, though, to be honest. So that's good. Hey, John, can you explain what's happening? Is it bullish or bearish? It's not either right now. Right now, it's a little bit of mixed. Here's where the report came out. This is what we originally did. So the initial reaction was bullish. Oh my gosh, that scared me. Who is this dude talking right now? All right. But no. Then after we pushed up, we went all the way back down and went red. And then we pushed all the way back up and went green again. And now we're pulling back down. So we're kind of rangy from this. It's not a big crazy reaction like I thought we might get, though. Dollar index is also pretty rangy. If you look at the Dixie here, again, the Dixie was rangy. It's now red. Thank you for your good mood and kindness. I would say I have the best mood and the most kind actions. Top 3 for sure. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Later, Raymond. Have a good day, brother. Again, so it agrees with the Court of International Trade in the Federal Circuit that Trump exceeded his authority by using IEEPA to create a universal 10% tariff plus extra trafficking tariffs, which functioned as a massive tax increase without the usual caps, procedures, safeguards Congress attached. The decision emphasizes the major questions doctrine, saying Congress does not speak clearly enough in IEEPA to hand the president such sweeping tariff power, especially when other trade laws spell out much tighter limits on presidential duties. Again, it essentially means the Liberation Day tariff program must be unwound. Importers can challenge and seek refunds of duties paid under those orders, and any future broad tariff scheme would require new explicit authorization from Congress. That's what this is. Again, the court ruled IEPA's power to regulate importation and exportation does not give the president open-ended authority to impose broad, long-lasting tariffs on virtually all imports. And so again, in regards to are any of the tariffs standing, not that I see no, the IEEPA Liberation Day tariffs themselves do not stand, but other Trump-era tariffs under different laws do. So this is specifically the IEEPA, which is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, is what the IEEPA stands for. NASDAQ is starting to come back down. The Section 301 tariffs on China do hold, though. Section 232 national security tariffs on steel, aluminum, autos, and other products were not before the court, and they remain in place. This was specifically the International Emergency Economic Powers Act duties that were struck down. Put this in perspective. Again, NASDAQ started to turn back down here, though. We're under 24.9s here. Well, it means that they can request refunds for if they were charged tariffs for the IEEPA tariffs, is what this means. I think that's what it means. Now, it's not all of them. There's some other ones that hold, but the IEEPA tariffs are reversed. I think they'll find other ways to implement the tariffs, but it might restart the volatility cycle. And again, the NASDAQ is kind of flat here. It is Friday. All right, guys. So again, Nasdaq back up to 24,950s. Dollar index down to 97s. So again, we have a very tight range here. We're up enough on the day where I probably shouldn't push it here, right? I probably shouldn't push this. Again, yields just tapped 4.1% for 10-year Treasury yields. They did tap 4.1%. Again, Bitcoin under 67,000. It's starting to rebound back up some. Yeah, reverse the president's tariffs here, guys. Stocks are still climbing up though. Here's 25,000. Look, here's the whole dollar of 25 right here. I would just be careful though right now. Bostic said, not hearing much concern about the labor market today. Feels like the economy is at something of a plateau. He said business expectations for 2026 are similar GDP growth or perhaps a bit stronger, which could add to price pressures. Tariff impacts on prices will eventually flow through and possible afterwards trajectory will be back to 2%. Did he hear the tariffs? A lot of the tariffs are getting reversed. Again, I think they're going to find ways to implement tariffs either way. Again, Bostic said latest PCE reading is a long way from 2%. Amazon was a good pick. Thank you, Stone Buddy. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, Amazon was just, look, Amazon's a company I believe in long term as well. I think most people in the United States are highly dependent on Amazon versus, 10 years ago. And so I think they just have a lot of weight and influence. And I think that business makes sense to me long term. It's gotten really efficient over the last few years. They're raking in money from it. PE ratio is relatively low compared to a lot of other Mag 7. And when Amazon had dipped, my average price in Amazon right now, and I've sold some of it just to lock it in, but my average price is 197. So yeah, when we dip down here, it's 197 something. 197 to be exact. It's 197.58, 57. So my average price is literally right here at this line. So pretty good entry when I bought it down here. We basically had 4 green days in a row now on Amazon. Apple's green as well. I bought Apple. My average price is 255 on Apple. It's at 261s right now, so you love to see it. Yeah, some of you guys might be delayed. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Need anything news? This man right here is your guy. Hey, thank you. And to take the attention off the terror report. Honestly, I don't know what the market wanted here. Again, y'all hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You want to. Again, peer pressure. Try it one time. Everybody's doing it. But the question is, what does the market want? Honestly, we've seen varied reactions here. Market went up big, went down somewhat, went back up, went down, went back up. It hasn't really picked a direction since we got this tariff reversal. Now, again, in my opinion, they're going to find other ways to implement tariffs. Maybe not at the scale they were with IEEPA, but they're going to find ways to implement them regardless. And so the only thing I'm worried about is that when we announce these new tariffs, is that going to drag the market? When we get announcements of these new tariffs through different precedents and procedures, is that going to move markets down? Is that going to drag markets down? I think it's plausible that happens. Now, we'll see what the market does for the rest of the day. It is option expiring day. It is Friday. We did have bad PCE and low GDP earlier, so which is the worst of both reports, high inflation and weak economy data earlier at 8:30. Again, now the big question is, what do we do moving forward today? Nasdaq's starting to go up some, and it makes sense in that context as well. I think you could reasonably argue either side of what I just said, which is that you could say, hey, Liberation Day, we dropped and corrected 20% in a lot of indexes. So a reversal of those tariffs from Liberation Day should, in theory, make the market go up. And I think that makes sense. You could also say, hey, this might restart the volatility cycle of tariffs, where we're gonna have to implement new tariffs now, or they're gonna have to implement new tariffs. They're going to. It's not saying I want them to or I don't want them to. I think they are going to, and this is something that the administration has said, is that if they reverse these, we'll find other ways. And will that drag markets? I think either one of those things is very possible. And I also think that might be why the market is sideways since this report came out. Although we are green net now, over 25,000 right here. So yeah, we'll see what happens. John is the type of guy that wears mittens when taking the trash out. That hurts, man. That hurts. I don't wear mittens. I wear leather gloves, okay? I've got like Michael Jackson gloves on when I take the trash out because, Of course not. Of course not. Bro, I walk barefoot everywhere I go. Literally everywhere I go, I'm barefoot. Anyways. I can't lie, I've laughed a little bit at the comment, So. Top 3 mitten wearers in the world right now. Earlier data, small potatoes compared to the tariff news. Maybe. I mean, I don't think high PCE, and I think the GDP data is the worst. GDP 1.4%. It's not good. They expected 3%. We showed up at 1.4%, less than half of what they expected. High inflation's not really a good tune to hear either. But yeah, I don't know what to do here. I wish I could moonwalk. My daughter can moonwalk. I can't. Why is market pumping if news is so bad? Well, I wouldn't say the market's pumping. I would say it's slightly, it's somewhat green from the tariff decision. And prior to this, it was somewhat red from the GDP data. Actually, no, we rebounded back up, didn't we, ahead of this? Yeah, so the PCE and GDP data came out here. And so we're green from that now. But we originally reacted red here. So. John wears kitchen shorts when bringing out the trash. What is kitchen shorts? Are there shorts specifically designed for the kitchen? Educate me, man. I don't know what that is. Gold review. Let me take a look at gold. Gold over 5K here. Tariff news. What was it? The Trump's IEEPA tariffs were struck down, reversed. I think a lot of the GDP is from the shutdown, to be honest. I think just logically. Again, I know people argue about these things depending on what side of the political spectrum they're on, and I'm not really on either side of that. But I think logically it makes sense. Q4 is generally a high spending month, in terms of GDP because of the holidays and you got Halloween, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas especially. And so Q4 is usually a very high spending quarter. So for it to reverse that much, I mean, yeah, we can blame it on other things, but I think the most logical explanation is the shutdown in November, or in October and November of last year. I think that makes the most logical sense to me. And on why specifically the GDP contracted so much quarter to quarter. It was at 4.4% for Q3, and then, shutdown happened. It dropped all the way down to 1.4% versus 3% expected. The expected number was way off, though. All right, guys, here's gold start to come back down. Gold. A lot of people are worried about gold, thinking the risk premium is going to fade because of the reversal of the tariffs. You traded penny stocks at all? Not in years. It's been 5 years or more. Too much variance, too much manipulation. You know, like penny stock gurus will essentially be front loading. They'll buy a bunch of shares of a sketchy penny stock, and then they'll announce it to their big following. Hey guys, I just bought ABC penny stock, low float. And so when they announce to their following that they buy it, the penny stock shoots up because there's barely any shares out there for it. So any big purchase or any big rush of purchases is going to influence and manipulate the stock. And then the guru sells at the top, leaves half of their following holding the bag of losses that come from them announcing they sold, and then makes a bunch of money from it, front loading essentially, and then takes a picture of that and then uses that as an argument for how profitable they are as a day trader. And then they sell you a course on how profitable of a day trader they are from that specific manipulation, right? And so because of that, I don't mess with that at all. Penny stocks, most of them fail. You also have the other end of that where like investing in penny stocks has this big niche of people. Most penny stocks are utter crap. They're just dog feces. They're just not good at all. 9 out of 10 of them will fail. But if you read the marketing, this is the best stock ever. Everybody's sitting there in the stock saying, oh, this stock's going to moon. This stock's going to go up. This stock's going to go crazy. No, it's not. It's probably going to get delisted and go to the pink sheets, and then it'll go to zero and completely fade out into the oblivion of nothing within a year or two, while you're telling everybody it's the next Amazon. So I don't know if you can tell, I'm not a big believer in penny stock markets. But make your money, guys. If you make money outside it, like I don't trade him. I'm sure there's some people that can make money doing it, but it's not me. ABC penny stock, the greatest stock tip of the year. Listen, I know. It's going to get delisted and go out of business tomorrow, but I know. Let me make sure there's not an actual ABC company. Okay, good. There's not. All right, good. Yeah, so again, I'm reading some breaking news right now. The president did say, he said it's a disgrace they reversed his tariffs. He told those that gathered that he had a backup plan. He said, I have a backup plan for the tariffs after the ruling, according to CNN. So again, we do have this breaking news right now. Again, Trump did say, I have a backup plan for tariffs after this ruling. The Supreme Court on tariff refunds literally said this quote. As was acknowledged at oral argument, the refund process is likely to be a mess. End quote, U.S. Supreme Court. Regarding tariff refunds. So they even said it'd be a literal mess, they said. Or they literally said it would be a mess. I'm sorry. That's how I meant to phrase that. Again, Trump says SCOTUS ruling a disgrace. Says he has a backup plan. Again, gold's at 50.45. It dropped originally from this announcement, and then it stabilized. It didn't drop that much, though. I mean, it's still over 5K. With that, though, I'm going to cut out of here, guys. See what happens next week here, though. Yeah, we'll see what happens next week. Again, if you want to help support your boy here, check out Take Profit. Take Profit, no activation fees. You can take withdrawals daily if you want to. Again, no activation fees. You get 40% off using my link. Use my promo code BG, Beginner Trading. You can check that link out pinned to the top of the chat. Again, if you want to use Apex, they currently have a 90% off sale going on right now. Again, if you want to check them out, I'll put this link up here as well. Again, great way to help support the channel. Most day traders lose. Again, like going back to when I first got started, I lost thousands of dollars day trading when I first got started here. So it makes no sense to fund your own account thousands of dollars just to lose it as a new day trader. Instead, try this. You risk what the challenge account price is, which is usually $100 or less for the smaller ones. Great way to learn. Great way to learn. If you pass it, you get funded the same amount, 80% split. Just a great way to learn, guys. Great way to learn. You get Apex has a 90% off sale going on. So if you want to check them out, here's the link. If you want to check out Take Profit, you can use both same promo code. BG. You can use it for Take Profit. You can use it for Apex. They're both futures. They're all futures. I want all my money back I lost from the tariffs. Yeah, I get it. I get it. All right, guys. So they did reverse the tariffs. Again, we will see what we get today or next week on Monday. We will be back Monday, bright and early. We will be back Monday, bright and early. Yeah, we'll see what we get. Yeah, as soon as I close this stream, it should bring you to the market stream tomorrow here. We have option expiry as well. And I'm surprised they released it. Again, I've covered so many of these and they didn't release it. Market's kind of flat right now, though. Again, promo code BG at checkout, or just remember this face right here. Staring at you. Pressuring you to use the promo code. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good. Again, remember, I'm not an investment professional, guys. I'm not liable if you lose. Make your own assessment. Trade smart. Go check the Discord before I leave. Okay. Is there something I missed? Crazy swings right now. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Later, guys. Almost forgot to redirect. All right. All right, guys. Y'all be good. Have a great day. Have a safe weekend. I'll see you guys later.